it's a classic road circuit. Every time you go to a good road circuit, the basic ingredients are the same. Fast corners, a lot of elevation change, a lot of variety.
It's fast corners and you're on the edge all the time.
And this is a great track because it's so wide open. It's a real driver circuit.
And if you're a man, you're going to keep your foot to the floor and you're going to go through the kink flat out.
This is Road America. I love this place.
That's Leonard Skinner, isn't it? Rolling down the road.
The American Le Mans Series. Cool cars, world-class drivers, premier road courses. Born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the ALMS is the glamour, the glory, and the grueling reality of sports car racing. European style with American attitude. Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance. 4 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. It is the chain that connects the new and the faithful sports car fans of an extraordinary endurance racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
In the early 1950s, when the Wisconsin State Legislature decided to ban racing on public roads, the small town of Elkhart Lake did not want to give up its young racing tradition. So in September of 1955, what had been a farm on the outskirts of this tourist community opened as Road America, and legendary Phil Hill won in a Ferrari. Now, some 50 years later, international sports cars are set to once again be unleashed on this glorious 4-mile circuit. Welcome to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the 7th round of the American Le Mans Series Championship for 2005, the Generac 500. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Dorsey Schrader. And Dorsey, let's get right to our Pirelli storylines. They are very compelling, and one of the biggest ones is in the P1 division for the prototypes, the fastest cars here, a 2-team battle. It's been there all season long, more intense than ever.
Yeah, it's very intense indeed. It won't be a matter of speed. The Dyson cars show enough speed to be able to beat the Audis today. It's going to be a matter of reliability. They've had gearbox problems all weekend long. They think they have them solved. We'll find that out. In P2, a great race enveloping there between the Intersport Lola and the Miracle Motorsports Courage. Now, the Lola's on the pole, but the guys in the Courage camp, they think they found some speed.
And for more on the goings-on in the prototype ranks, let's meet the first of our pit reporters, Calvin Fish.
Well, Greg, it was here 1 year ago that J.J. Lato and Marco Werner clinched the Drivers' Championship, and what a difference a year makes. Following the crash at Portland, they're now in 4th in points, chasing their teammates Bieler and Pirro, who lead. Now, just outside those guys is Weaver and Leitzinger. They sit on the pole here today for the 3rd year in a row, but reliability issues, well, think about this. James Weaver hasn't completed one competitive lap here in his last 3 visits. Now, when we look at LMP2, Clint Field leads the championship on the back of that 3rd victory of the year at Portland. And the team Miracle Motorsports, who debuted the Courage chassis here last year and won from the pole, well, their drivers have a lot of work to do also. Bucknam and McMurray, they failed to score points for the 3rd time in this year at Portland, so they also have a lot of work to do, Greg.
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. And folks, as we show you the starting lineup across the top of the screen, Dorsey, let's get back to the Pirelli storylines, this time in the GT division.
The Asemco Celine got a little Christmas present. It got a bigger restrictor. It's fast in straightaways, but the Corvette boys were still faster yet. In GT2, however, Alex Job's momentum continues. Timo Bernhardt qualified on the pole by 3/100ths of a second over Jörg Bergmeister.
And for more on what's developing in GT, let's meet our second pit reporter, Brian Till. Brian?
Well, Greg, in GT1, another banner year for Corvette. Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell trying to win their 3rd driving championship together, hold a 7-point lead over teammates Olivier Beretta and Oliver Gavin. But if you think that these teammates won't fight hard for the championship, you're wrong. They'll fight each other as hard as they'll fight any other competitor in the paddock. In GT2, Timo Bernhard and Romain Dumas at Alex Job Racing hold a slim 6-point lead over their nearest competitors at White Lightning, Patrick Long and Jörg Bergmeister. But the boys at Flying Lizard, John Fogerty and Johannes Van Overbeck, they may be flying yet again. They have finally gotten a handle on this new Michelin tire. It's taken them all season long, and they're back on pace here at Road America. Greg?
All right, thanks, Brian. And Dorsey, as we look at our Porsche keys to the race, speaking of getting a handle on things, how do you get a handle on fuel mileage and pit strategy here?
Well, one thing you can't do is make a mistake on fuel mileage pit strategy. It's a 4-mile track. If you go on past turn 1 and you start bobbling on the fuel, you're not going to make it back. And pit strategy, can you do it in 2 or can you do it in 3? If we get an early yellow, we're going to have to see who plays it which way.
It'll be very interesting indeed. The parade cars are in. The pace car leading the field out of turn 14 and making its way up the long front straight. Watch them start to pair up here. Pace car will duck into the pit lane. And this hill, it is a long straight and a long hill. And boy, is James Weaver bringing them up at a crawl.
Yeah, he wants that advantage to be his. You know, he wants to get the most out of his car and try and hold those Audis back from getting a good start. The outside here is not a penalty in turn 1. You can go around the outside if you got a good start.
Now they start to climb. Weaver starts to roll into it just a little bit. The pace picking up, looking for the green flag to get round 7 underway, and it flies. We are underway. Weaver moved over, got a little jump, moved right over, and that opens the door up for the number 20 car, and a little bump.
One of the Audis off the track in the straightaway, and they closed. The number 1 car just closed the door on 2. They came together at the last race, and there's some animosity between those 2 guys.
It certainly seems to be continuing here. Weaver leads down into 3. Here comes Werner. No! Gets the door slammed on him by Dyson. And so now it is J.J. Leto actually on board that car. He tucks back into the 3rd spot as they head down now this long, long run between turns 3 and 5. Very fast.
This is great, racing right down through the trees here. It's one of the most focal places on this racetrack. A lot of crowd right there goes to see that braking zone.
Leto did a little juke there to show him. Oh, and he got a great run out of 5. Don't see that very often. A mistake possibly by Dyson, and Leto trying the outside through 6. Here we go.
I'm thinking a gearbox selector problem. They've been having that on the Dyson cars. That car didn't come off of turn 5 well. I think it missed a gear.
Boy, and it's not very strong through 7, down into 8. And Pirro taking a look. Dyson making sure he doesn't have room there. But Pirro right there, so the battle for 3rd coming after him. And here we go. Looking to the inside, but you may be right because those 2 lead cars of Weaver right now and Leto drawn away in a big hurry.
All these cars have non-interrupt paddle shifters. In other words, you don't have to lift off the throttle to shift. You just push a button, it shifts for you. They've been having trouble with the Dyson car's shifting mechanism.
Through the kink and down through the sweeps heading into turn 12, known as Canada Corner. And right now it looks as though Chris Dyson able to kind of calm things down, solidify that hold on 3rd just a little bit. Let's go back now and take a look at the start. We're going to do it from our aerial shot, way up in the air, and watch, the move by Weaver, and then Dorsey, the contact between the 2 white Audis.
Watch the 2 white Audis. The second one trying to get a go up the inside here, and you're going to see the number 1 car move him into the dirt in the straightaway. Right, he's alongside already. Now watch this. Just runs him completely off the road right there. And these guys made contact at the last race in Portland, and they were told by the powers to be at Audi, knock it off. You're not going to be knocking your cars all around. So they won't be happy about that. Looks like he did it again right there in turn 2.
Yeah, it almost looked to me like Dyson maybe started to move over. Just, and look at this, the 10 car you talked about. They're perhaps finding some speed, and they bump with the number 5 Corvette as they head down there. So, boy, there's some damage to the left rear corner of that car.
He's got into it with someone already on the left side of that car. Also, we're hearing that the number 2 Audi is going to have to make a pit stop because of that incident in turn 1.
Boy, that Courage right there, you can see the smoke roiling off where the bodywork laying down on that tire. And that, I would think, would necessitate a stop, too. You can't afford to have a cut tire, as we talked about here. If it happens on this track, it's a long way home.
Yeah, Emmanuel Pirro is not happy in the number 2 Audi. He is reporting back to the pits that this is no way to race, to be run off by your teammate.
Oh, boy. Meanwhile, leading in the P2 division right now is Liz Halliday. And great news for Liz. They just put a deal together. She will run with the Intersport team for the rest of the year. So she's running listers in FIA GT as a factory driver. Now she's going to finish out the season here in LMP2. And this right now, well, I tell you what, with Clint Field as your co-driver, this package is very strong.
It's a great car, and they got a year jump on everybody else because that is the very first of the new type of car, the new P2 car, the only one in existence right now. So they're getting a whole half of a season. Look at the damage here. You'd think they'd come in and get that fixed.
We think maybe we're going to have a shot here and let you know what happened with the number 10 here, the Miracle Motorsports entry. The report was contact with the number 63, Celine.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. The Celine just took off the left corner just about coming out of turn 8 there.
And you'll note that the Celine got around the number 3 Vet. That is exactly what the Vets did not want to see happen was the report. They needed to run 1-2 for a few laps and try and gap the Celine. it didn't happen. We hop on board now with that Velocity yellow Corvette.
Watch the car in front, the 63 Semco Celine with the bigger restrictor. It's going to have big straightaway speed, no question about it. Let's see how much you can actually pull. Pulls about 2 or 3 car lengths right there, but this isn't the longest straightaway.
Very fast corner here, turn 1.
And I'm getting a report over the radio that the lead car, James Weaver, is starting to have gearbox problem, and they're asking James if he needs to go back to the manual shift or not.
And we look at GT. This is GT2. And look at the number 45, Johannes von Overbeck. As Brian Till said, the Flying Lizards may be flying again. It would appear so. They have gone very quickly to the lead in this category, running 13th overall. Then you see that white and red with the lightning strike looking paint scheme. That is Jörg Bergmeister in the second place car.
Jörg is magic here at Road America, no question about it. They put him in that car for qualifying. And boy, did he step up to the plate.
And the car that we're trying to spot here is the number 23 Job entry of Timo Bernhard, the pole sitter, and he has dropped well back in the category to 5th. And as a matter of fact, Bill Oberlin in the Panos has jumped up into 3rd in class, hounding the 31 right now. There is Bernhard, and he is back behind the second of the Flying Lizard entries, the number 44 entry of Lonnie Pechnek. So some problems developing here. Calvin, what's up with the number 10?
Well, the 10 is in. The bodywork was rubbing on that left rear, so a good call by the team to get Chris McMurray in here. There's a little cheese wedge, appropriately enough, right behind the rear wheel. It had come adrift, was cutting into the tire. He stalls it momentarily, trying to get out of the pits. They've got their splash of fuel, and there's talk about this being tight on a 2-stop, so that should certainly put them in good stead. But right now, they're struggling to get this engine fired back up. Now it does, and he pulls away. So lost a little bit of time here on the green flag running.
One of the rules of the series is that you can't assist the car. It has to start on its own in a pit stop. Normally you'd see crews scrambling to push and pop start the car, give the driver assistance. That's a no-no.
Well, for a moment I was having a deja vu moment of Portland. Remember, as the car died like that coming out of the pits. It didn't restart. He struggled for a moment. Thankfully, up and running now. But talk about behind the 8 ball. They have got, it's a long race and a lot can happen, but that Intersport car is so tough.
I wonder what happened to Timo Bernhard here that he's so far back. I don't know if maybe he slipped off the road or if there's trouble with the car, but he's dropped way back from the pole.
Well, you're so bunched up in that scrum at the start. If somebody comes knifing underneath you, have some sort of problem, if you lose your momentum here, you can get sort of freight trained just a little bit. And the number 8 Mazda has pulled off. The Mazda entry has pulled off at the exit of turn 14 to the right side of the track. That car had been struggling. We'd listened to it a lot of times, not running very cleanly, it sounded like, throughout the weekend, Dorsey.
These guys really been struggling.
Try to lead over, reset the master, and try to refire it.
They also have gotten a break on their restrictor size on this Mazda.
Enter the pit lane. Yeah, I got you. Lean over and reset the master.
Now that's just unburned fuel in the exhaust system. It's not actually the car on fire. He's trying to start
firing. Repeat, not firing. I think something happened. Also, I lost a lot of oil pressure and just ran really bad. Sitting right at the end of the tires.
Well, the team believe there's something in the drivetrain. We heard something about oil pressure there. This is a new motor program this week. Previously, it was done by Speed Source with the Mazda engines. Now Dennis Spencer has taken over. They've been very happy with the results they've seen on the dyno. Talking about 50 to 70 horsepower more for that engine, but looks like their day is a short one, Greg.
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. So big problems for a team that's basically, this is their home track, and it has all gone awry very early in the going here. Hopefully they'll be able to resolve it. Meanwhile, here are your leaders in the 4 divisions that are running here. And we also want to show you a little something special, a Pirelli flyover. This was unbelievable. A couple of warthogs, and they were on the deck. Spectacular way to start the day off here at Road America. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, the oil that's changing oil. By Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Klein Tools, tools worth asking for. Ask your tool supplier today for Klein. Welcome back, everybody. There's a look of our 2 leaders as you watch them. We're going to take you a look at our Michelin Field Summary. This is ALMS class wins since the inception of the series, which was 1999 Sebring by tire manufacturers. Michelin, if they can win today, unbelievable, 150th win.
That is totally unbelievable.
They build a very stout tire. There is James Weaver with J.J. Leto in tow, relatively and figuratively speaking, in a sense. He's a little bit too far back, pick up the draft, but look at him close under braking. That's some of the accordion effect. Whoa, boy, he got a little sideways there, Leto did.
Well, I tell you, that was an enormous amount to take away in the braking zone. He took up 15 car lengths all of a sudden. That surprised me. That's a heavier car, too.
We have a phenomenal battle going on in GT2 right now. We're looking at this stage. It's the battle for 17th. That's Wolf Hensler with Brian Sellers right behind him. We had Ian Boss in the number 24, Alex Job entry in that, but over the radio we heard a report they may have pitted. I don't see him for some reason. Maybe he did in fact pit, and that's the report he has. So this battle right now, and there he is. He's in, and Brian's there.
Seth, and actually Lonnie Petchnik behind the wheel. They brought it in, and you can tell, guys, they're cleaning the windscreen, and a lot of the GT cars having this problem right now. When the engine let go on that Mazda LMP2 car, it covered the track and a lot of the windscreens of the cars around him with oil. We hear that problem. Jörg Bergmeister has it, as does Timo Bernhard in the 23 car, and you can tell by looking at the windscreen, if you can't see around this racetrack at 170 plus miles an hour, you got a problem.
Well, Brian, that explains what happened to Timo Bernhard, our pole sitter in GT2, that fell back. He can't see, and I can see from this windscreen right here, Lonnie Petchnik couldn't see either.
Well, look at how long it's taken him to clean that level of oil. It's amazing, Brian.
There's oil all over the front end of the car and the windscreen as well. But what actually got Timo Bernhard was just a bad start. Johannes von Overbach got a great start. Bernhard did not get as good a start, but that put him back into that difficult position of being around that Mazda, and now he's got to deal with the oil that he picked up from it.
Yeah, I can't imagine heading into the kink wide open and not being able to see.
You could see from that on Lonnie Petchnik's portion. And look at this car. Look at that car. The whole windscreen completely covered. Now, it's not bad enough that it's oil, but as the guy drops wheels off and so forth, that dust then collects in the oil and gets into a big smudge.
And that's Bergmeister, who had that great run in qualifying, but struggling right now in the GT1 division. This is the battle for fourth, and that is the Maserati, that beautiful sounding V12. He is under attack right now by the number 5 in the hands of Ryan DL. That is the C5 Corvette from Pacific Coast Motorsports Racing, and these guys have been, they had that third in Portland. It was their first podium of the year, and the team is really flying high right now. But that Maserati's come alive a little bit with some of those adjustments in this category.
Greg, I talked to Tyler Tadevac here with Pacific Coast about the guys in the 5 Corvette, and he said we're finally starting to get a handle on what endurance racing is all about. Don't forget, they came from sprint racing, the Toyota Atlantic Championship, and it's not the pit stops, it's the strategy that they're getting a hold of. The other thing that's working in their favor today, the weather. It's nice and cool, and they say that this compound on this Yokohama tire really likes to be below 80 degrees in ambient temperatures, and that's what we've got. So it looks like they're hooked up.
And Greg, like you were saying, both of these cars also received some help, if you will, a competition adjustment as they got larger cylinders. About 45 more horsepower is what they're dealing with.
And it seems to be working. Meanwhile, up front of that group, we're on board now with Ron Fellows in the number 3 CompuWare Corvette, chasing the Asemco Celine that did exactly what the team didn't want, got in between those cars, and has now split those vets.
And watch the Celine as it's starting to disappear on the top speed. There's our lead guys already lapping cars on a 4-mile circuit. They're already into lap cars.
Boy, and the number 16 of Weaver got held up by the Panos. Nothing wrong with the Panos, obviously, just nuance in traffic. And he's going to catch another car here, get down underneath. That can hurt his momentum out of the carousel into the kink. And Leto right there. And believe me, Leto, there's opportunity. He's going to be all over it. Watch this right here.
The first car, James Weaver right there, goes to the inside, and the Panos doesn't know he's there, almost runs him off the racetrack. Calvin?
Well, we know that J.J. Leto is going to give it all he's got, particularly in these braking zones. But since that crash at Portland, they lost some vital pieces on that number 1 ADT champion Audi, one of which was the set of brake rotors. They're a very special set that takes some 5 to 6 months to be replaced. So this team is out of these rotors for the rest of the year. They chose not to run them at Le Mans so they could have them for the rest of the ALMS season. So J.J. said we're losing about 2 to 3 tenths in performance over the course of a lap here at Road America just on the brakes alone. I spoke to Mike Peters about the other parts. He said, well, most of the other stuff we've gradually been able to replace, but we don't have any spares left. The electronics absolutely took a massive hit when the rear got torn off that car, so certainly not as fast a car as he would like to have had here today.
You can only mine so much of that unobtainium in a period of time here, so That's the situation was on board with Leto.
That's a tough situation to be in. You know, here you are, you've got the fastest car on the planet, the best sports car that was ever made, and there's no parts left.
Yeah, and especially the electronics. That's the interesting thing. Now, this time Weaver is going to benefit from some traffic as he gets through coming out of 5. Now Leto has to make the pass. That is your GT2 leader. They're going by Johannes van Overbeek, and that gives Weaver a little bit of room.
Yeah, and that's going to happen. You're going to win some of those things and lose some around this Road America track. There's places, it's such a wide open track, it's easy to pass cars here, but there are places that you can get bottlenecked up.
Ooh, Leto a little loose under braking going in. Maybe a reflection of what Calvin was talking about. Meanwhile, in the GT2 category, that's the 23, the white car of the Alex Job Racing. High-end entry, yeah, Bill Oberlin and the Panos, and these two are duking it out right now for, it's basically third in class.
I tell you what, the Panos boys must have found something between qualifying and practice in the race, because they really were struggling to come up to speed. They weren't near to the speed of these Porsches, and now look at Bill right here in the middle of things.
He's feeling some heat, but yeah, they were nowhere near this competitive, and they weren't sure. Was it simple setup? Was it chassis problems? Was it aero problems? And they really had to figure out, and they spent a lot of time chewing on that one.
Yeah, Greg, down in the Panos camp, there was a lot of head scratching going on over the weekend. They came with a car that they thought would work, and it didn't at all. Neither one of the cars, neither the 50 or the 51, they went through wholesale changes on the setup, found some problems with some sway bar issues and some aerodynamic issues as well. And now it looks like Oberlin certainly is hooked up. But finally, those changes got put on the 51 car this morning for warm-up, and now Brian Sellers able to move up in the 51 Panos as well.
Reporting much better pace indeed. So the two Diablo Grande dynamic suspension Panos cars looking much stronger than they have. Once again, here are your 4 class leaders. Hey race fans, Speed Channel is putting you in the director's chair. Get signed up for Speed Onboard Pass and take control of the race. If you're a fan of ALMS, Grand Am, or IROC, then you need to get the Speed Onboard Pass right now. For only $4.99 per race, you get multiple race cameras streaming live, plus live timing and scoring, and exclusive live pit-to-car audio. And Speed Onboard Pass lets you chat with fellow race fans all while the race is going on. So take control with Speed Onboard Pass. Log on to speedtv.com and sign up now. Enjoying this ride here and a little bit of a change of position in the GT1 division. The number 3 of Fellows was finally able to sneak by the 63 of Johnny Molam.
Take a look at how this happened. Ron Fellows is really good here. This is going down into Canada corner, gets a good run off the straightaway, pops out and does a late braking maneuver for Canada, and gets the Corvette right to the inside. There's nothing Johnny could do about that.
Well, one of the things that we've heard as the season has unfolded as we watch it from the onboard angle is the Saleen maybe not great under braking when it's bumpy, and there's a little bump right there.
That braking zone for Canada corner is really very bumpy, and the Corvette really did have superior braking potential right there.
So Fellows able to get by. This is what the racing team wanted to have happen, if their 2 cars being able to run 1-2. But as you can see, pretty good gap as number 4, Ollie Gavin, has opened up almost 10 seconds in hand over now second place in class, his teammate Ron Fellows.
Well, these larger restrictors were supposed to add somewhere in the vicinity of 45 horsepower, but I was talking to the Asemco guys. They say they only got 12 of the 45 they expected, so more work needed there, it looks like.
So continuing to watch this battle right here. Fellows drawing away right now from Johnny Molam and doing a nice job. Meanwhile, up front, the battle for the overall race lead. That's the margin. Weaver in the Tetford Lola and the number 1 ADT champion Audi sitting in second. By the way, officially the report, the number 8 Mazda, done. Nothing they can do about that. Apparently expired engine. We've seen their oil on virtually everybody else. That's not how it's going to happen. Meanwhile, Leto right now just trying to stay with Weaver and work him. And for James Weaver, well, I tell you what, when he put the car on pole, it had to be a little bit of I don't know, vindication or solace after just an unbelievable development late in the going at Portland when that team looked so good. James Weaver, but a lap and a half away from a win at Portland, and suddenly ran out of fuel, and it was...
I must admit, when I got out of the car, I just felt like Basil Fawlty when his Poxy Morris 1100 broke down. I wanted to get a branch and beat the damn thing to death. But, you know, once it calmed down, it's it's actually not that bad when you're driving because you take a much more sort of pragmatic view. But it's awful for the crew because they live with the car day in, day out. And my wife and my kids have never seen me win a motor race. And my eldest daughter Millie was out there with me, and they just told her to come into the pits. Looks like we're home and dry sort of thing. And I think that would have been my 100th race win overall. I don't really keep count, but I know I've been up in the sort of high 90s for about 2 or 3 years, and I've won a couple of races since then. So it must be around about my 100th win. My daughter was there, and I thought we'd go home and say, oh look, just won a race, but failed.
Well, James Weaver finds himself in a similar position here today, leading certainly in the first hour, but it hasn't been a smooth weekend for these boys. They start the race from the pole, obviously, but in the morning warm-up where they do their final race shakes, James didn't complete but 1 lap when the engine shut down on him. He traced it back to a chafed wiring loom right behind the monocoque. It's very tight in there where the wires sit, and it chafed through. But they're really holding their breath here today with no other chance to check the car other than the reconnaissance lap before the green. James said everything was fine, but the Dyson team are going to have to cross their fingers for the next 2 hours or so to see if they can make it to the finish.
And traffic will certainly play a role in that as well, and they are working through that battle we've been watching in GT1, the battle for the 4th spot, the Maserati and the number 5 Vet, and they're coming through now trying to make the pass on the Maserati. You can see that Maserati in a straight line is plenty quick, and Leto does get through, so Leto absolutely refusing to let go of James Weaver. And tell you what, just seeing the emotion in Weaver, he's very funny, he's enjoyable, he's a treat to be around, but you don't normally see that raw emotion. And at the end of Portland, he was a hurting person, but all better now, and there's a driver watching things developing very closely. One of the very exciting moments of any weekend in ALMS is the Klein Chewis Pit Stop Challenge. These were the semifinals, and it's the number 3 Vet, the number 1 Audi. The Vet stalled at the go signal, but once they got into the pit stalls, the Vet team, what a comeback they staged, knocked off the fast time of day. Watch how quickly they got this done. Bang! They were down and away, 51.937 seconds. That was the fastest time of the day. There you see it spelled out, and they go on to the finals in Laguna. As a matter of fact, these are the 4 teams that advanced in terms of time from the semifinals here down to Laguna. It is going to be a lot of fun to watch it there.
Some of that performance, Greg, comes from the way that the Corvette team were actually doing the wheel change this year. They videoed all their stuff from last year, saw how they could improve things. And rather than running between the front and rear tires as one guy replaced it while the gun is in the hands of another man, they stay at the one wheel and they get it all done on each corner, then move to the other one. And they've trimmed some 3 to 4 seconds off, which really frustrated the Aston Martin team when we went to Le Mans this year. They couldn't believe how the Corvette team were regularly beating them out of the pits. And time saved in pit lane certainly adds to the performance on the racetrack, Greg.
Well, without a doubt, especially since you can't do anything on the car if you're refueling, so you're just sitting there. If you can get that time segment down, it's going to pay huge dividends, and it certainly did for the Vets, not only at Le Mans, but at races this year.
It's probably one of the major things that has changed in sports car racing over the last 10 years is the cars are so equal now that these pit stops make a huge difference of the overall outcome of the race. In the meantime, we were talking about speculating on the 23 with Timo Bernhardt, not being able to see. Well, he's under. Oh, we got fire on the back of one of our prototypes. That's the
Intersport, number 37 of Liz Halliday, Dorsey.
And that is quite roasty toasty at the back right now. She needs to be getting out of there.
Wow, well, with the Mazda retiring, the problems for the number 10 Miracle entry, this car was a very comfortable lead. But, yeah, I don't think she realized how bad it was. Now she understands it, and she's out. Liz Halliday is out, getting away from the car.
Car's rolling, it's on a hill. She needs to just get away from that and let it roll back.
Get it off the track, out of the grass, trying to stop it. Here comes the rescue crew. And she's trying to reach in. Maybe, no, she's back at the car again. It's stopped. Yeah, you're right. She should just move and let the fire crew get in there and do the job.
And those bottles are not going to be enough, boys. You need to get a fire truck down there. As I say that, they're getting it pretty good under control. But she might have been reaching in trying to set off the onboard fire system is what she was trying to do there. Versus try to get it in gear, because I'm sure that's a paddle shifter too.
There's Clint Field, very concerned, obviously, at this stage. And there's Liz.
She's fine. Got out just in the nick of time, I'd say.
It's a little spooky, obviously.
Well, the fumes are the worst part of that whole thing. I mean, she was inside there, and it wasn't burning the inside, but the fumes of that burning carbon fiber are pretty bad to deal with. speaking of experience. You know.
Absolutely. And so we are full course caution with that development. Let's get down to Calvin with Clintfield.
Clint, did Liz have a chance to communicate what was going on there in the car?
No, we saw on the in-car camera she had some smoke coming up to the cockpit. We didn't know really what it was. And then the outside shot showed a pretty, big fire in the back. So I don't know what happened. We, had to wait to get her back to see what happened. Hopefully she's all right. I think she is. But it's too bad, we had a really good race going on. Liz was just doing her thing, and, it's too bad. But, oh well. Got to say hey to Richard Berry.
You have the championship lead. This is certainly going to hurt this if the Miracle Motorsports team can finish here today. But talk about the performance of this Lola. I mean, you really had tremendous performance here this weekend. I mean, almost qualifying those guys by a couple of seconds.
Yeah, and that's why we're so disappointed. I mean, we had a really, really good car. And, after Miracle had their little mess up in the beginning, we were just going to run our race. We were going to do what we do. And what can you do?
Sorry to see you out, mate.
Thanks.
And that Richard Berry mentioned is Very, Very Exotics, who have come on board and really helped that program out, so good acknowledgement there.
That was either something like a fuel fire or an oil line fire. We'll do an onboard look at this. Liz has no idea that she's on fire, but you see the smoke there. You don't know what that is yet, but at the back of the car, it's totally fully ablaze, and she doesn't know that it's on fire as the car's still running. In fact, you see her right there talking on the radio, communicating with the pits that something's wrong. And I guarantee you, just from her nonchalant type of posture there, that she does not know how badly this thing's burning. Watch right here. Now she's going along at 90 or 100 miles an hour right there, back into the car fully engulfed in flames. So it's got to be an oil leak or a fuel leak. Looks like a fuel leak.
Boy, substantial too.
And she's on the radio. She doesn't know that the car's on fire. That's a scenario exactly like I did. Now she knows.
Yeah, bailing out of the car, and you can see it rolling. And her first concern there is stop the car. And it's understandable. And now she reaches in trying to guide the car, and Clint sees it. Clint sees what's going on now. You can see the frustration there.
Well, that's a lot of money right there. It's going up in flames. Not easy to repair. That's some of the hardest damage to repair when you get a big fire.
And I have to say, give some kudos to the Road America Fire Rescue team that was there. They did the job and did a superb job with it. The IMSA truck was right there on their heels, but that Road America crew doing a great job as well. And now the fire's out, and they're just assessing the situation.
Impressed with them 2 little bottles. I didn't think.
Yeah.
I thought, no way that's going to stop. But
now they're well trained.
They got it. They did what they needed to do.
And of course, that means we continue under full course caution right now, folks. And there's the pace car leading the field up, and we've got some guys coming into the pits, and some of the rescue workers had to scramble just a little bit to get out of the way, and that's 1-2 overall, I believe, making the duck down into pit lane, Weaver and Leto, and this plays into that strategy a little bit, Dorsey. They were talking, can we do it in 2 stops? It was going to be tight. Stopping now, that should make, it's going to be a splash, but then 2 stops easy.
Yeah, this is what everybody had to see, how it was going to develop the race. Now that the caution's out, we'll see who plays what strategies.
And of course, the other thing is it's cooler today than it has been the last couple of days, so tire life might be a little bit better, and you can start thinking about double stinting tires, etc. It all plays into the game of endurance racing, and that's why it makes this element of the sport so very, very exciting. Weaver is in. Cal?
Weaver is in as the leader, and he comes in. Looks like it's going to be fuel only. I don't see the guys set up for any tire change here. And as you mentioned, Greg, in terms of strategy, they will not be able to get to the finish unless there's a bunch of yellow on one more start. They'll be looking at a splash at the end, or maybe they can split the race up a little bit differently. So they'll be looking to here. The fueling has been done. The key is to get this Dyson fired back up. That's not always easy, and Dice, here we hear it. Weaver gets it fired up. He's away, stalls it again. Right behind him, the 20 car. Chris Dyson is gone. And he beats Weaver, as does one of the Audis.
Actually, Cal, both of the Audis, as Leto is able to sneak out as well, so a huge turn. Weaver in the pit stop process, 1st to 4th, Dorsey.
Yeah, let me explain to the people at home that these cars have about a 4.5-inch clutch. It's very, very small. They don't want to leave the pits. They don't want to start when they're hot. And there's a launch control that is helps the driver get away from that standing start. But you saw there James Weaver stalled the car. That makes it even harder the second time to make it start.
As a result, he fell back through the order, and J.J. Leto was able to get out of the pits first. His teammate Pirro slots into second, so things changing up here at Road America. Welcome back, everybody. We continue under caution here as a result of the fire in the Intersport Lola with Liz Halliday on board. Everybody's fine. Now, one of the things while we have this opportunity, a little bit earlier, Calvin Fish spent some time talking about why it is so crucial to match a tire to a racetrack.
Every racetrack has its own unique set of challenges, and Road America is certainly no different. Long straightaways and heavy braking zones. And Turn 5 is a prime example of that. GT1 cars will approach speeds of about 170 miles an hour, and then the drivers will try and slow it down to about 55 miles an hour for minimum apex speed. Now, because it's downhill and the force of gravity is believed that the braking forces would be about 1.5 times that as if you're on normal level piece of pavement. Now, the next problem for the drivers comes at turn-in. As they start to turn into that corner, which is more than a 90, it's about a 110-degree turn, really has a tendency to unweight the left front side of the car. Very easy to lock up the brakes and flat spot a tire. The drivers certainly don't want that to happen. What the drivers can do inside the cockpit is adjust the brake bias. That's the braking force from the front in comparison to the rear. However, if you have too much braking force in the rear of the car, there's a tendency for the rear end to slide around the corner. That's not good for tire wear. It's almost like yanking on the e-brake as you're going through the corner. But whatever the driver and whatever the conditions, Michelin believe that they have the best tire on hand for the conditions here at Road America.
It's pretty interesting that Calvin brought that up. That braking for turn 5, you have to run a pretty heavy front spring. And of course, when you're running a heavy front spring, the tire itself and the rate of the tire is also part of the equation for spring rate. So it's one of the tough things to gear for or to get set up for here at Road America.
Never-ending tire development. Now, this year, IMSA also instituted a new series of racing for amateurs driving GT3 Cup cars. It's called the Challenge. We want to take you back to Portland International Raceway, the most recent round of that championship. At the start in Portland, Kevin Roush was on pole, but Jay Policastro went right to the lead from the outside of the front row, and going with him from fourth was that green and silver Porsche of Sean Price. Great battle unfolded a little bit later in the race. Paul Orwitz challenged here by the white 05 of Tom Pank heading into the festival curves. He was able to hold on, but this battle raged for a good part of the race. A little bit later on, double yellows, caution on the track. The reason, Sean Price. Contact problems. That would bunch the field up, and Policastro now under pressure from the lead. No worries, got a great launch, avoided all these problems that unfolded for all of his pursuers in the festival curves. As a result, Policastro able to open up the margin, took the checkers well clear of the field. That, of course, gave him the victory lap and the obligatory wave to the crowd. It was a great run up front. We'll be right back. Speed Channel is putting you in the director's chair. Get signed up for Speed Onboard Pass and take control of the race. If you're a fan of ALMS Grand Am or IROC, then you need to get the Speed Onboard Pass for only $4.99 per race. You get multiple race cameras streaming live, plus live timing and scoring, and exclusive live pit-to-car audio, and Speed Onboard Pass lets you chat with fellow race fans all while the race is going on. So take control with Speed Onboard Pass. Log on to speedtv.com and sign up now. The yellow flag caution period continues here, and we're watching the number 20 and number 16 Dyson Lolas, and a little bit of strategy being played out here.
Well, James Weaver, of course, stalled the car. He got shuffled back, and they've had a conversation between himself and Chris Dyson, the 20. Chris said, hey, James, I'm going to let you go. When we get down to turn 1, I'm going to go to the right, you go to the left. I'll brake early, let you have the position, go after that Audi.
So working the team program right now to try and chase down that very quick champion ADT Audi team. And it makes sense. Weaver was so brilliant in qualifying. His speed here has just been phenomenal all weekend, so why not? And when you got guys like Leto and Pirro that you're trying to run down, you play the game as best you possibly can. We continue under caution. They've just done the wave around, so we expect to be going green fairly shortly. We're going to step away for just a moment, come back, and hopefully not miss a thing here at Road America. Welcome back to Road America. You see the indication from the passenger in the pace car, one finger, one more lap under caution here at Road America, and then we're going to be going back to green for the racing. It should be very good. A lot of things involved in terms of pit stops. Now, you know, one thing, though, about this weekend, it isn't just race car related stuff that has been very, very interesting, and we wanted to take you back to a very special thing that happened on Saturday. At the end of Saturday's motorized activities, the track ran the Tour de Road America, a fundraising event for the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Marino Franchitti, Frank Biela among a number of the drivers who took part. There's Marco Werner as well. Over 600 riders took part in the event, J.J. Leto among them, all to raise money for this great, great project. Now, once they let him out onto the track, I'll tell you what, folks, they soon quickly learned what the elevation changes of Road America were all about. It was hard work, but it was great fun. And a number of people got involved, even some TV folk. There's our pit reporter, Calvin Fish, who is having a great time as well. All part of the Lance Armstrong Foundation and the Peloton Project, a great, great cause indeed. And for Calvin, I think he maybe should have taken that training a little more seriously.
Calvin, one of the guys that put in a lot of laps. I think he did 5 or 6 laps around here, and needs a little help now.
Well, guys, it was a great ride. It was for a great cause, but Calvin, got cars leaving pit lane down here. Did you overdo it a little bit yesterday, bud? 5.5 laps. I know that's a long way around, and I know you've been training hard, but looks like you got a pull.
I did. Something just went in the back of my car. It was a bit embarrassing, but let's probably do it the way they had to pull away the whole team. You and Greg and Dorsey weren't out there last night, so I was doing all the work, I think.
Well, you know, it's important to come down and cover it, though. You've been working hard here, you know. I mean, just you and the producer out there riding, the rest of us cheering you on. We had some cowbells ringing for you and stuff like that, and I think we had some cold beverages for you when you came back.
You guys were well toasted when I got back.
Well, we cover the injuries as well, Greg.
Yeah, we were doing chasing the motorhome. That was our job. It was great. We're expecting to see green flag coming as we get this field around under control of the pace car. So let's tell you exactly what's going on. After the pit stops, J.J. Leto, the #1 champion ADT Audi, leads it. Teammate Pirro in second. And then it's Dyson. That's going to change. P2, Gunnar Van der Steur in the Van der Steur Racing entry over Chris McMurray and Liz Halliday. Of course, Halliday's day is done. So it's those two cars and Chris McMurray. Opportunity here after what looked to be a problem. In GT1, Oliver Gavin continues to lead over Ron Fellows and Johnny Mollem. But Mollem went a lap later. That may play into fuel strategy later on if they need to stretch things out a little bit. In GT2, some changes evolving there. Certainly one of them is the fact that the number 23 entry did not pit for quite some time. But give you the order, it is going to be a development in GT2. Romain Dumas is now the leader. They pitted Van Overbeek in second and Bergmeister in third. For Bergmeister, a godsend because that windshield.
Yeah, Timo Bernard actually did a great job of. You can't imagine how hard it is to drive at speed when you can't see out the windshield. All you can do is kind of look out the side window, and everything in front of you is kind of a blur. If you have it in the sun, it's just horrible.
All right, field coming up onto the front straight. Pace car, as you see, makes the move in, and watch for that strategy move from the Dyson team as the two Audis lead them up the hill. Green flag is out.
Green.
Chris Dyson in the lead. Dyson car will break early. Let James scoot around the outside. There it goes, right there. And the Audis go side by side in one.
Well, they have just been on each other from the get-go, haven't they?
There's a little bad blood between the two cars, I'll tell you. And they've been both talked to about roughing each other up.
Well, they're certainly seemingly ignoring those orders and racing very, very hard. Meanwhile, once again, the 63 able to jump by Ron Fellows. So Johnny Mollem, every opportunity he's got, he is taking huge opportunity with and splits the vets once again. Oh, and number 16, Weaver, ducks down underneath. Oh, contact as Pirro got crossed up and just sort of slapped the back of Weaver's Tetford Norco Lola. Looks like maybe no harm, no foul, but that was something the Dyson equipment was talking about very seriously, is that we can't afford to be banging around on stuff. These Audis are a little bit stronger than we are in that department. That's very, very iffy.
One thing we've seen over the Audi's tenure, the R8, is it can hit things quite hard and not do any damage. The little Lola, on the other hand, no way.
Boy, what a moment, obviously. Now let's go back and take a look at it here. Watch for Weaver to make the move.
Good outbreaking move he does. Goes downhill in turn 5 area. Makes that move cleanly, but watch here now. Tries to get a run up them, and it's just going to get loose. And just a little contact. Nothing bad there. Not intentional for sure.
Tink.
A little tink.
Just tink.
Get your attention.
Yeah. All right, through Canada corner. Weaver now sits second to Lato. What a great turn that is. Up underneath that, used to be called the Billy Mitchell Bridge. Absolutely blind approach, slight climb to it. And oftentimes you use some of that emergency run-out road to save you. Don't you?
Yeah, you do all the time. You do it intentionally, actually. If you get that turn figured out just right, you can go right out on that extra pavement every lap. I love watching Weaver. He's such an attacker. I mean, he really just gets the bit between his teeth and goes after you.
There's the margins at the line for our top four. And one of the things that these the Lolas have in their favor, I would think, Dorsey, under braking is they're lighter.
Yeah, they're lighter, and that should give them a bit of an advantage. Plus, we also heard, of course, the Audi with their rotor problem doesn't have the super trick, unobtainium, stop you on a dime stop.
Let's take a look at what's evolving in GT1, and there you see Mollem up front. There's Gavin in front of Mollem in the Celine on board with Fellows. And again, as I said, he was able to split it, but Fellows we watched, very good under braking, and if he can stay close, that's what he wants to do. This is that long, long run, and you can see, though, the Celine edges away a little bit here. And we believe we have it, Tori. Not too much, yeah. Here's how the pass happened.
Judge that just right. Perfectly judge that. Restart. A lot of speed there, but that was, I think that was just...
Oh, look at that! Counter move by Gavin, Doors.
Yeah, and he's lucky he doesn't have square tires after that one.
Boy, Mollem read that start beautifully. It's just Gavin outbraved him.
Yeah, that Celine, like I said, if it had all 45 horsepower it was supposed to get, would be much quicker in the straightaway than I think there is. I don't believe they yet have that engine up to its total potential.
Terry Borchler, the other driver of the car, said that they've spent a lot of time doing some straight line testing to try and maximize airflow in the engine, but still working on it, obviously. And take a look at this. In the battle right there is in the LMP2 division, actually one of the LMP1 cars. Now, here's GT2 going back to it, and your leader in the GT2 is the number 31 of York Bergmeister with a clear windshield. He's loving life.
He loves this racetrack, too.
That's true.
York really can put the pedal to the floor around Road America.
Yeah, his qualifying lap was just stunning. Everybody figured, well, the GT2, that's Berg. The way that Bernhard has been able to run, and that team has been so strong. And I was talking to Patrick Long, and he said, yeah, but we got York at Road America, and it was only a matter of 3/100ths of a second. York got that close.
Greg, the other thing that Peterson White Lightning team has this weekend is a new ECU, a new engine control unit back there, controlling all the electronics. And does a couple of things. One, it gives them better gas mileage. Two, the drivers love it because it helps the no-lift shift. It shifts quicker, it shifts easier. And the other thing it does, it's got a very advanced traction control system on it. It actually measures the longitudinal G's, lateral G's, and then compares it to how the suspension is moving up and down. They call that a 3-axis traction control system. All that then gets coupled in with a gyroscopic meter in the middle of the car so that it measures the yaw back and forth around the very center of the car, and they can actually adjust then the traction control for every single corner around the racetrack individually. So these guys loving life right now at Peterson White Lightning.
That's some serious high-tech stuff going on in the GT2 division, and it is just fascinating what they're unfolding with. Here are the current top 5 in that GT2 class. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, the oil that's changing oil, and by Michelin, a better way forward. Welcome back. Beautiful crowd on hand and an absolutely glorious day. This is what road racing is all about. 70 degrees, nice breeze, beautiful, and some great racing on the track. J.J. Leto continues to lead over James Weaver. And these two have, it's not a lot of battling going on right now. As a matter of fact, Calvin Fish, some of the better battling has been between the two Audis. How's it being taken down in the team?
Let's check in here with Brad Kettler. Brad, we saw two of the teammates rubbing and banging at Portland, and there on the initial start, we saw Emanuele and JJ going at it as well. Have you guys had a chance to talk to the team and settle things down since Portland?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely had to talk about that, and it's not something that we approve of. And that's been taken care of. What happened there, they got a little crowded on the start, and and JJ got pushed over towards the edge, and Emanuele was trying to get around him. So no harm done, but it did get him a little excited to start with.
Certainly looks like it's going to be a nip and tuck battle between the two Audis and the two Dyson boys here today. Strategy-wise with fuel, that early yellow, I assume you'll need a splash unless we see more yellow today. One stop and a splash.
Yeah, definitely. Unless we see a little bit more yellow, the yellow laps make so much difference in the time and fuel used that it only takes a little bit to reduce almost the stop out. And but the guys are running good. JJ's reporting no complaints, and he's happy. And I'd like to say hi to Lisa and the boys back home.
Mate, thanks a lot. Certainly that direct fuel injection on that Audi when they're running under yellow, it uses about 15% of what it does on a regular lap, so it really saves them a bunch compared with the other competitors, Greg.
Well, that's something we haven't talked about a lot, but absolutely right. If you can maximize fuel economy under yellows, and nobody does that better right now than the Audis, as Calvin said.
Well, the direct port injection came out the year after I was driving for Audi, and in fact, the year I drove for Audi, they had it in the Yost cars. We didn't have it, and they were not only quicker than we were, but they got better fuel mileage too. So that's hard to deal with.
All right, the battle up front. You can see Weaver gets close, but not quite close enough. Meanwhile, in GT2, a great battle going on for 8th to 9th. We're on board the number 79 J3 Racing entry. Tim Sugden on board and is trying to hustle down the number 43. That is the BAM Porsche being driven by Wolf Hensler right now. Got some good telemetry coming from Sugden's car, and it's a good race. I mean, they may not be up front right at this stage, but things accordion and change so much in endurance racing. A good battle here, and staying close to Wolf Hensler. Saying something.
This is such a long race and such a long race track that your position right now is, not big. You don't have to really fight for it like you're coming to the end, because there's such a long way to go still. You can just kind of ride off some of the middle of the race.
That J3 team, great second place finish at Sebring. Just an absolutely,
Duma just set the fastest lap of the race right there. So they're not just running off laps.
I was going to say that J3 team, great run at Sebring, other podium this year. It has been a great season for them. And the competition in this GT2 class, the numbers are great, but the quality of these teams and the drivers that they have is phenomenal.
Well, like you said, too, that is one high-tech race car. I mean, that is not just your everyday common street Porsche. I mean, there's a lot of really intricate, delicate race stuff in that group. Of course, so many of these guys are Porsche-paid drivers. So factory guys. In road racing, that's where you make your money.
Very strongly supported by Porsche. Of course, Porsche's customer program is really second to none. It's just absolutely phenomenal right now. Meanwhile, in the LMP2 division, our leader has made its way down onto pit road. Brian?
Well, Greg, a little off schedule because they had that earlier stop after the contact, but this is a routine stop. Chris McMurray has gotten out. Jeff Bucknam will take over. Routine stop. They've done fuel. They've done tires, and Bucknam will get this thing back on track. As soon as he gets his radio plugged in, tries to refire it, and he should be underway.
Well, I tell you, this team had so many great runs early in the season that kind of got negated. I mean, Mid-Ohio was the most notable one. Just an incredible run, and they too much time by one of the drivers in the car, and they had a massive lead. Just little things like that. But it has shown some very, very racy program, and the team doing a great job.
With the Intersport car out, they'll be right now under advisement. Just keep it cool and keep going around, pick up your points.
And our overall leaders coming up in the battle we've been following in GT2. On board with Sugden, and there goes your leader, Leto, and watch for Weaver to come by in a big hurry. And it's traffic like this, so you can see Weaver had to pause, lost a little time. He'll lose a little bit more time here. And endurance racing, sometimes traffic giveth, sometimes it takes us away. It's always exciting when you start running in traffic, and that's where we are right now. 4 different divisions running here in the American Le Mans Series, and here are the leaders of each. Leto leads overall. Welcome back, everybody, and Jean Rissard Swiss watches provide the official timing and scoring of the American Le Mans Series. Great to have you back with us. And big trouble on the backside of the track. That, folks, second overall. James Weaver in Dorsey. Traffic.
Traffic got him. J.J. Leto got by a Porsche up in the carousel. James worked the outside, tried to go around the outside. The Porsche drifted out, possibly bumped him, got a full course because of that. Take a replay look at this. James has no choice. Watch JJ. Gets around the Porsche at the entrance to the carousel cleanly. Now, Weaver has nothing to do but try an outside pass. He goes around the outside. The car moves a little bit over, gets him offline. Now watch this. He's got to stay on the throttle to get through gravel trap, which he's doing okay until this. Boom. It's not what he had in mind.
Different angle on it here. Boy, he's just got it absolutely throttled right there, trying to skip through, but of course not steering very well. Catches the corner, buries it into the tires. And you can see just on the outside, we just got a glimpse of it, all the marbles, all the junk out there. Once you get your outside tires on that, it's sayonara. Really.
Absolutely. I mean, he was trying an outside. It was a low percentage pass. He got out there. There was no grip out there, like you say, all the expended rubber. There's a couple of races been run today before this race, so there's a lot of debris out there.
Can you get a nose ready, and I'll get towed out. We'll get back to the pit, yeah? Yes, copy that, James.
So no damage really done to the car. You just heard James asking for a new nose to replace this one. There'll be a bit damaged. They'll get him towed out of there, but there's going to be a lot of rocks and gravel that comes with him.
James was working on getting out, talking to the team and talking to the corner worker there. Realizes, well, we'll just get towed out, so he's buckling back up once again.
Here's how calm he is. I mean, that's James for you. He just has such a calm demeanor. You know, racing's been his whole life. He just doesn't let himself get all upset.
It's funny, whenever you ask drivers, you say, some of those interviews, what would you do if you weren't a race car driver? They, well, I do this, I do that. James said, I'd just be in big trouble because this is all I love. So we are under full course caution once again here at Road America. Tonight on Speed, step into the tunnel. Wind tunnel with Dave Despain, that is. Sound off what you think about your favorite series, driver, or latest controversy. Plus, the biggest names in racing, stop in to chat. Wind tunnel with Dave Despain tonight, 9 Eastern, only on Speed. Now we continue under caution. They are making the extraction of James Weaver out of the very large gravel pit there on the outside of the carousel. Cal?
Well, the leader makes his way in. It's now J.J. Leto, of course, with Weaver having an off here, and I think there's going to be a driver change. Yes, it's going to be Marco Werner jumping in to take it over. Remember, these boys are playing catch-up in the championship to their teammates that sit right ahead of them right now on pit lane. So it's the 2 squad going up against the 1. Remember, this 2 team is new to this form of racing, coming from Speed World Challenge last year. This number 1 team has performed flawlessly all season long. Of course, winning races here and the big one over at Le Mans. So they're doing a tire change here. We'll expect Vernon to take it to the finish here this afternoon. He'll definitely need one more stop for fuel. Meanwhile, further down pit lane, the Dyson team is in with a 20 car. Werner underway, beats the 2 car out. The 20 car's doing a driver change too. It's going to be Andy Wallace jumping from there, taking over from Chris Dyson. He's underway.
And Andy Wallace in the car. Chris Dyson doing a fabulous job. Wallace very quick as well. So this is by no means over right now for the Dyson Lola team. Don't ever count them out. Now, if you're just joining us, here's what's unfolded so far. First of all, at the start, it was Weaver going into the lead. There's that little bump between the 2 Audi teams. And you also watch the Celine able to split the vets as they got underway. And we'll watch this right here. Around the outside, number 1, Leto squeezes by Chris Dyson. Pirro tries to make the pass, can't get it done. Then some contact. That is the Celine and the number 10 entry, the LMP2 Miracle Motorsports car, damaged that car back. Then the number 8 Mazda, a fairly serious problem in the engine, oil left everywhere, including a lot of windshields. It pulled off. Then another LMP2 car, this one, the Intersport pole-sitting car in the hands of Liz Halliday, a huge fire. She's fine, got out of the car. The rescue crews were able to get there in quick order and get things taken care of. That caused our first caution of the day. And look, you see, Clint Field very, very frustrated by the developments happening right there. And there you see the rescue team getting pit stops. Well, big change. James Weaver had been leading at that point, but had a problem, stalled it on the way out, dropped to 4th. Was quickly able to get back with the help of Chris Dyson, letting him through, made this pass on Emanuele Pirro, picks up 2nd spot, and at that point was pretty much set to just go after the lead car of Leto until the moment that caused our most recent caution outside of the Porsche, into the marbles, into the tires. And that is where we sit right now under a full course caution. So that is our Mobil 1 race summary to date. And Weaver now out of the gravel trap, and he is, this is, I'll tell you what, it tells you what a gentleman James Weaver is. All that gravel on that car, he's driving it as much as he can on the grass to let that gravel fall out. somewhere other than the racing circuit.
And you see it is all falling out. That's
Yeah.
James being a class act as usual, just trying to keep all that off the racing surface. He'll get that car back to the pits, and they'll put Butch Leitzinger in it, and they'll soldier on.
Yeah, he was chatting on the radio, and one of the things he said, a new nose, put Butch in the car, a bit of a vacuum. We'll be right back at it. So going to clean the car out just a little bit, and we expect to see Butch Leitzinger behind the wheel. Caution continues at this stage. Leto leads, but a number of drivers' changes have unfolded. Werner now behind the wheel. Welcome back to Road America, everybody, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you one bit. Right now, the number 3 CompuWare Corvette in the hands of Ron Fellows is your overall race leader. Now, that's because some teams have pitted, and they're the ones right behind the pace car, and he is yet to pit, as has Mollem right behind him. Gavin brought the team number 4 in, and we believe Olivier Beretta is now behind the wheel, so they've effected their driver change. And the interesting thing here, Dorsey, is on the wave around, that gives these cars a lap up, and there's 2 cars that can be a huge advantage in GT2 is the 31 of Bergmeister and the 45 of Van Overbeck, if it works
that way. Yeah. Bergmeister was already leading GT2, and Johannes Van Overbeek, the second GT2, would get, in essence, 9/10 of a lap lead, almost a full lap lead on their counterparts. That would be huge.
And let's check in with Calvin Fish, James Weaver, and that team. Calvin, what's going on?
Well, the team have got the car back in pit lane. They've got the nose off. They're blowing the car out all the dust, trying to get the gravel out. Let's have a quick chat with James. James, what happened there, mate?
Made a mess of it when you're around the outside of a Porsche at the carousel, and there were just too many marbles. I had been going around the outside, but they obviously built up over the race, so it wasn't the right thing to do, clearly.
Okay, we're going to try and get him back out there, but valuable time's been lost, and that jinx still plays here. They have the pole, but they just can't seem to get that picture with the 16.
Your side look good, take one look.
Boy, yeah, they have been so fast here. You've got to think, how does that play on the mind? I mean, they come here, they do everything right, qualify. They've had their moments. They were dealing with some electrical issues, some gear shift issues, but looks so quick. And then to have something like this happen. But let's not forget, as I said, Andy Wallace behind the wheel of the number 20, Tedford Norcolbola, is no slouch. He and Chris Dyson, a very solid pairing as well. They are not out of this by any stretch, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Road America, everybody. We're just past an hour and 16, 17 minutes into this 2 hour and 45-minute event, and it has been very interesting indeed. And under this full course caution, Ron Fellows in the vet still leads over Mollem and Alex Figge in the C5, and then Jörg Bergmeister is fourth overall in the GT2 leading Porsche. And I've got to believe, Dorsey, they are trying to play the game to get involved in that wave by and gain that lap. But we get a report that there will be only one more pace lap after this when that wave by unfolds. Can you get caught out in this situation, Stu?
You could get caught out for sure. I mean, it's a 4-mile track, and you got to, one lap, if they start raving you by, you're going to have to really get going fast.
All right, let's get down to Calvin Fish, who's standing by with JJ Leto.
JJ certainly looked like it was heavy going there in the early laps. Talk about the incident going into turn 1. Did you see Pirro on the right side?
I don't know what incident. It's just a normal thing. I don't even understand, with team cars, why to get into that kind of situation, because I had the inside line and I was ahead, so why even to try to go outside, because there's no way, nobody can do it there. Not even Pirro. But it was just a normal situation, It's so slow always to start because of the safety car nowadays. They really put the speed down, and of course the second car gets the advantage, always getting a slipstream and pushing hard. So that was just a normal situation, and you're going to see them a lot, in the future as well that way.
Certainly one thing settled down as you and Weaver going at it at the front, and then the incident in the carousel. Could you see what happened to James there as he went around the outside?
No, I didn't. I just saw that he was sliding away. I was already going through the kink, so I had a pretty good gap already there, because I just got by the GT2 Porsches very easily. So James was, I guess, trying a little bit too hard, and the carousel is really long corner. You can do it outside into a certain point, but probably he just went a little bit over that point.
Okay, well, that's the word. We're getting ready for green, boys.
Thanks, Calvin. As James said, it just wasn't the right thing to do. Just got out those marbles a little bit, and that was it. So that's the situation. Meanwhile, green flag flies, and bringing us up is Ron Fellows with Mollem right there. Mollem again getting a strong run on the on board, watch from it. Not close enough this time. And Mollem is just going to follow him down into turn 1. You see that bright yellow C5 vet sitting there in third.
I think that Celine, that the restrictor gave it some torque. You see on these restarts, he really has good restarts. Maybe not that much horsepower.
Audi's the next car back behind the Celine. Then a little gap, then two Audi and a MG real close together. Keep digging.
I'll be watching for our overall race leaders, or well, what will be the overall race leaders, let's put it that way, Werner, Biela, Wallace, as they come up through this group. But remember, these GT1 cars in a straight line are real quick, and it's the twisty bits we're going to see them.
They really get you under the brake zones, and the prime one's coming up. This is turn 6, looking at it backwards. Then you got turn 7, so right-hand bend. Then it goes down the hill to a hard braking zone. You see right there.
And Wallace has split the two Audis already.
Wallace in there. Here's the braking zone right here. I was talking.
Watch for this. Here comes Werner. He gets by the Celine, then it's Wallace. Then Biela.
This is where James Reed got caught out just a few minutes ago, right here in the
Watch Wallace. This is the move. Yep, there's Wallace. Boy, way to the inside in turn 5. And at the last moment, Biela said, well, he's got me, and moved over to let Wallace through. But that's right down to the inside there.
Stayed in the slipstream just perfectly. Here comes Andy Wallace right now, catching Ron Fellows' line.
So the Werner now makes me look correct in the overall lead. Here comes Wallace in a second. Look at that dartiness under braking.
It's very rough down there. It's not even surface for sure.
Fellows there in third, and then we've got Biela. He's going to try him into 14.
Watch the Corvette. I mean, it's got a big old lumper engine in it, and it will accelerate up to speed pretty well. More the braking that they do.
There's some great videos. They close the low camera angle. So Werner now officially your overall race leader. Wallace in second, Biela third. Fellows still right there in fourth. Mollem fifth. And Olivier Beretta has been able to get by the old Bergmeister as Beretta has taken over the number 4 car for Corvette.
Now, of course, Andy Wallace realizes that we were out of the picture some laps down, even though they get the car repaired. He is now the head guy for the Dyson team. His orders now to run it down, run these Audis down and get the lead if you can.
And we're talking about the fact that Fellows stayed out and Galvin did it. Galvin, interesting pit strategy being played out for the Corvette team.
It is, and we'll check in here with program manager Doug Feehan. Doug, you decided to split strategies there, keeping the 3 car out and fitting the 4. The temptation of the overall lead too much to pass up?
No, actually did it on the last restart. Oliver flat spotted one of the tires going into turn 1, and we were very concerned about the safety of that. So we took this opportunity to bring him in, and we'll let him run back up through the field now. So it was a safety issue, really.
Looking ahead, how's the strategy now going to play out? I mean, does Beretta need another stop, I assume, and how about the 3 car?
Yeah, clearly the fuel window for Olivier has been shortened now, so he has a much wider range in which he can operate. It's pretty much determined on the 3 car when we'll have to stop, but you never know where the yellows fall, so it's anybody's race.
A tough battle out there. Celine is certainly giving you fits today with the changes in the competition adjustments.
I got to tell you, this is what they pay to see. We're loving every minute of it.
Great battle out there.
And it has been a good race, and you were right once again, my friend. Those tires were square.
Yeah, I locked that tire up, and he complained later on that he thought that there was something bad with it. So that is a safety thing, because what happens is it'll lock up on the spot again, and ultimately it'll just grind right through and you'll have a tire failure.
So Ron Fellows continues to lead, though, in the GT1 division by virtue of that not pitting strategy, while the team car did, and Johnny Mollem in second. Marco Werner leads overall, and here's your top 5 in GT1. Welcome back to Road America, as we are just about an hour and 17 minutes remaining in this great event, and we want to just kick back and let you enjoy the sounds of speed. We're going to start by hopping on board with the Audi, one of the best racetracks in the world, one of the best race cars ever built. Kick back and enjoy. See that number 45 Flying Lizard entry just ducking down underneath Sugden. That is the car that is currently third in class. Jan Fogarty behind the wheel. And so Sugden right in the middle of the GT2 lead battle. Unfortunately, he's down a lap right now. Pit stop sequences, etc. But Sugden doing a great job and giving you a great look at everything that's involved. I love that just tapping the brake as you get.
What Nancy's doing in there. I mean, he's not using the clutch when he goes up to an upshift. He does use the clutch, double clutch downshifts. He uses that foot also to tap that brake pedal.
And meanwhile, the number 45 continues to run in third. Fogarty doing the job, but Brian, it was Johannes van Overbeck that started it.
Well, that's right, Greg. Johannes van Overbeck, a tremendous start. We'll begin with that. The start, did you catch everybody napping or just anticipated perfectly?
Everybody's afraid to go to the outside, and it worked out.
We also talked at the beginning of the show about the reemergence of this team, Mid-Ohio, and the victory last year there. Seems like a long time ago. I know you guys have been struggling. What's the magic bullet you guys found to be back this weekend?
The competition in the series in the ALMS is so competitive. And with the help of our partners, Porsche and Michelin, we've been able to make strides, and we're getting better every weekend. We're working better as a team, and the performance on the track is really a testament to the Flying Lizard guys.
Well, they definitely worked hard. The other thing about this guy, quite the gentleman, went down to Peterson White Lightning and told him they might have a small problem with their car when he got out. Wanted to let the competitors know to watch out for their car. Calvin?
Well, one of the team they're chasing there today was, of course, the Alex Job, number 23, Timo Bernhard. You started the car from the pole. Talk about the start here. You didn't have a good start, it looked like.
No, I had a really bad start. Actually, the start was good. I was leading, but then I swapped lanes and I went to the inside and everybody braked after turn 1. And then I was trapped. I couldn't change lanes anymore and everybody passed me. I think I was 6th or 7th after the first lap. And I worked my way back up to 3rd position. And then unfortunately, one prototype had a problem with oil and they lost oil and everything was covered my windshield, so I couldn't see anymore. It was P3 was the maximum I could do.
Now currently runs 2nd, I believe, but you know that White Lightning team is strong once again here, and your teammate from last year, your Bergmeister, this is his favorite place, I believe.
Yeah, it's his favorite place, but I was happy that I beat him yesterday. I was really happy, but I think we're in a different strategy right now, and we're still in the game. We're still fighting for the win here, but I hope I trust Romain, and I hope he pushes.
Certainly push, and hopefully they can increase that championship lead at the end of the day, Greg.
Well, it's certainly been a great battle, and it's still very, very strong at this stage. Bergmeister leads it, but Dumas has hustled that car now, and they sit in the 2nd spot. Fogarty 3rd. By the way, for the Flying Lizard team, Pechnik led in Mid-Ohio this year for a little bit. So the team, good to see him back. Shake him every time he looks in that mirror. There's that big blue and white hood and that AW on the front of that helmet. It is very close, and they are working traffic right now. And this might be Wallace's best opportunity. He actually popped to the outside as Werner got held up just a little bit. The outside, Fury is quicker. Wallace now moves over, trying to protect, and makes the pass work. Werner had to give it up, and Wallace comes through. Boy, talk about timing and talk about jumping on opportunity.
And you all set that up on the last corner coming out of the long front straightaway. Saying that the Audi was going to be blocked by the Porsche. He backed off the throttle, gave himself a little room, and got a run going, and just made it happen out of trouble.
Wallace had been hounding him ever since we went back to Braden and was able to get by the team car. Slotted in the 2nd and has just been right there, and traffic helping out. Now Wallace getting involved in traffic of his own.
He's going to have to make sure now he doesn't have the same thing happen to him that happened to the Audi.
And boy, for a minute you thought Werner might go diving through and gets by the number 44 Flying Lizard entry, but just that little breathe cost him, and he's going to have to deal with it again. Just went by the 23 of Dumas.
The funny thing about all these cars, the mid-corner speed or the apex speed, even these little GT2 cars are really about the same speed as a prototype at that point of the track. So if you don't believe they got that pass made, by the time you come to the mid part of the corner, you're no better off than they are. Makes them kind of confusing.
about the situation is you have to be thinking way ahead.
Yeah, it's like a moving chess game. I mean, you see that you're going to catch these cars. Now that being said, you're going to catch them at a price where you can slow you or the other car up. That's what you hope.
There's one right there at the number 2 of Bila at this point. And there's number 23 Dumas sitting second in the GT2 division. Still 12 seconds behind Baumeister. That has not changed. They went back to green. There was about a 12-second gap. 11 to 13 is what it's been. And there's Andy Wallace now in the overall lead at this point, working his way through turn 1, down into turn 3.
That was confused me since there's no real turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just kind of got that little bend to it that they sort of refer to it as. But now that long whistling run. We're going to show you, this is very interesting. Watch this, folks. We're going to show you the pass that Wallace made as he went by Werner, and at the exact same time, we're going to show you the reaction. Watch this here, Chris and Rob Dyson as they watch this pass happen.
Of course, Rob Dyson, team owner, his son Chris did the first stint of the 20. In the lead with Andy Wallace, which is not a bad thing to have.
Well, you know, when you think about Chris Dyson being teamed up with Andy Wallace and running with guys like Weaver and Leitzinger, and you take a look at what Chris was able to do in qualifying. He was P1 for a long time, ended up P3, and was only 0.2 of a second off Lato and less than half a second off James Weaver. Chris Dyson, in a much shorter period of time, has evolved into a very fine race car driver. But while we were watching all of this unfold and this great battling, the number 63 Celine in the pits, and they've been there for a long time. Brian?
Well, Greg, with the adjustments, the Celine was really able to stretch his leg and show it power. And Johnny Mullen, awesome restarts by you on the Corvettes, but it's been sitting here in pit lane for a while. What's up, bud?
About 10 laps ago, before it happened, I began to have a problem downshifting, which meant I couldn't really hang on to Ron as well as I wanted to there, and I couldn't keep Ollie from catching me in too quickly. And then I began to get a problem where I literally could not downshift on one shift. I had to try 4 or 5 times to get one shift. And, that meant I had to back up all my braking areas, and then eventually the whole lever just felt like it broke loose at the bottom, and it was just floating backwards and forwards, and I was stuck in 5th gear, and I just came in, and I'm so upset for all the guys. They worked so hard, and we were doing so well, and I mean, we were second overall at one point for a little while, you know, and I couldn't really match the Corvettes, but I could definitely hang on to them, you know, and we were in the fight, we were in the hunt, and I'm just so gutted for me and for all the guys. This is so unlucky, and I just hope all our luck comes together at once, and maybe we'll get a good result.
These guys are going to have to get the monkey off their back. It looked like they had the car to compete today. One more time, Gremlins got Jeff Giangrandi and the entire Simcoe group. Greg?
Well, Brian, the other thing too is, you know, they've talked about it. A number of different cars got some of these adjustments that happen, but nobody's capitalized on them and done the development work that had to be done to maximize them, like the Simcoe team. And they really thought this might be the weekend, and to have this happen after they were so competitive, as Johnny said, it's got to be just gutting to everybody. And boy, they have, it's certainly not for lack of effort by either the drivers or the team. So we ride on board with Marco Werner as he sits second overall. Andy Wallace continues to lead away, and it's just been this close, just a change of position, but it's that close, and they continue to work on the Simcoe Celine, and here are the overall, or the P1 class leaders. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Mazda. There's a soul of a sports car in everything we make. And by Slime, the best way to prevent and repair flat tires. Go to slime.com for a dealer near you. Welcome back, everybody. About an hour, just about an hour left in this race, and here is your lead 3 overall and in the LMP1 class. And Wallace continues to lead from Werner and Mila in the 2 Audis, and that is the battle. By the way, the number 63 Simcoe Celine is back out. Hopefully it was something as simple as a bolt or something that just had to be reconnected. They got it out fairly quickly. Obviously, they're going to be down a lap or 2, and that's too bad, but at least they're back out and running at this stage. And we hop on board with Marco Werner, and take us through a little bit of the telemetry we're seeing.
this actually can be an advantage for Andy Wallace, the fact that Frank Biela is caught up with Werner. I mean, these two guys are battling at it. Look at the G's, 2.3, 3.0 G's right there. Watch this one now as we go through. Boy, it's going to build on carousel. It's a very low grip right there. You don't get much grip. Here comes the kick, though. And that one, that'll get your full attention.
Yeah, it looks like they locked up for just a second there. There's the margin, second, and you can see just how close it is. And Andy Wallace, the last lap, got a little bit of a break in traffic, caught the Maserati and snuck by him into the kink. And Werner had to check up just a little bit, and that allowed Biela all over the back of Werner. But since Andy has got a little bit of traffic, and you can see that margin has come back just a little bit in terms of Marco Werner right now. So that's the situation. And we saw the reaction from Chris Dyson when his team lost to Blake Calvin. They got to be enjoying this one.
Well, Chris certainly is enjoying a big smile on his face, but right now we're getting down to the depth here, and you're getting close to your window opening in terms of fueling and get to the checkered flag. Do you come in as soon as that window opens, or do you wait and look for a shorter fill today?
Well, we're trying to make that decision now, Dal, so we should know in the next little bit.
The advantage being in the lead or being in second? Is it easier to watch and see what the leader does, or to dictate?
After Portland, you almost want the Audis to be together as much as possible. But I think that, yeah, the advantage when you're is always when you're in the lead, because you're dictating things. So, you know, Andy's doing a good job.
Any concerns with the transmission? I know the paddle shift again this morning in the warm-up was troublesome. Everything feel fine when you're in the car?
Yeah, it seems to be okay. We found a hardware problem in the gearbox, and you know, we made an adjustment on the software, so it's working like an absolute train now.
Well, fingers crossed for this team. They desperately need just a little bit of luck. Maybe they can see victory lane this afternoon.
So Chris Dyson's kind of thinking like me. It's a good thing there's two Audis together. I mean, those guys, if there were two players, the two of them together, that would be possible. Some controversy here of late.
Oh, yeah.
You know, two competitive spirits and stuff.
By the way, these three now coming up in the car that's fourth in the LMP1 category, Mike Lewis. And he is driving the number 12 Autocon Cycle Redline Oil. Riley and Scott Mark III. Big V8 in the back of that car. They're coming up to past Mike, so keep an eye on that. Very packed car.
That Riley and Scott Mark III was a Dyson car. We actually
there it is.
There it is, actually. When I was driving for Rob, we had that car, and these guys have got it kind of resurrected back up.
Boy, and Andy Wallace, did he get by that group of, that's the GT1 number 5 and the 63 Celine, the Menardi Corvette and Celine. And he got by them. And boy, look at the margin it gave him as he's already into 14 as Werner is just approaching it right now. And that's exactly what you want to see. I want to get back to something we talked about earlier. Well, the Celine heading back in, so maybe that gearbox problem not completely solved at this stage. They're going to fix it. We talked about fuel strategy, the windows open and everything, and we're watching the chase graphic right now. That's Werner and Biela. And remember, what it's going to show you in each of the sections is when you gained or lost, and then we'll give you the total view at this stage. I was going to ask you, Darcy, you can't afford to wait too long if you're going to stay out the short field, because if you run out, you can't big trouble.
Yeah, you can't run out here. It looks like Frank Biela's a bit, I don't know if he's just moving the car around to get Marco Werner's attention. Werner's a pro. He doesn't care about that. But it looks like those two guys want to get after him.
There it is. That red means that he lost about almost half a second in that stage. Biela did to Werner at this stage in the first section. Now the count continues. The margin has now increased the interval to 0.8 of a second. Wallace leads these two, of course. Right now, not much traffic out there, so this is just really pure speed at this point. Don't worry too much about competing factors. Now, also, the lighter Dyson motors, don't they gain a little bit of a fuel advantage? Of course, they also run a 4-cylinder turbo, so
they probably do have a little advantage. This racetrack, you have to have a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Normally, at a shorter track, you know, a 1.5-mile track or something like that, you might get a lap. On a 4-mile track, I wouldn't want to push it.
Now you see Biela was able to gain almost 0.2, and that interval broke from 8 to 0.6 of a second. So just looks like they're stronger in certain parts and weaker in others, and just how you work through there. And when you're close to somebody on this track, just exactly how much, if you're up close, how much does the draft and arrow on the nose, how much does that affect?
Some cars different than others. These prototypes doesn't affect them nearly as much as it does like those Corvettes. The big sedans and really open the big envelope of air, they really get sucked along a lot more than these prototypes, which are so slick in a straight line. And we're hearing that it's not far now. We're going to get a lot of pit stops happening because everybody's coming into the field.
There's a good look at Frank Biela. Great drivers, long associated, obviously, with this Audi team. Biela's been a part of it for a long, long time, deservedly so, and brought some tremendous results for this team, and also had the pole here in 2002. Let's take a look now at our class leaders, and Jeff Bucknam up front in P2.
With 53 minutes left in this race, Andy Wallace, the leader, has made the call. The team have laid the cards on the table. They've brought him in, no tires, fuel only. He'll be good to go to the finish. The question now will be, how quickly will the Audis respond? I think there was more fuel in the tank there. They just wanted to get it done. Remember, if we get a full caution that closes the pits, which certainly plays into the strategy here today.
That's a very good point. The Audi's last thing, you would think first off, well, they're going longer than the Lola. That's a surprise, but strategy maybe far more the role here.
That is a strategy call, no question about it. Now they've got Andy back out there in full tanks, and both of these cars are going to have to pit, which should, in fact, give him a track position going toward the checkered flag.
And once again, these two have been racing each other incredibly hard. It's unbelievable how these Audis have been racing each other. As a matter of fact, it created a very exciting moment as we see them working through the traffic right now on the leaderboard after the pit stop. Behind the number 20 car of Wallace at this stage. And as we said, some amazing action in traffic in these two Audis. There's no question they are racing each other very hard.
You don't think Biela and Werner are not competitive? Watch the second Audi in your picture. Tries to sneak up the inside there. He's going to make the pass, but no, you don't. Traffic once again.
But that Porsche wouldn't have drifted over. Biela was around and gone, jumped on the opportunity, and that was when Wallace headed into the pits. Let's get back down to Calvin Fish.
Well, the leader in the GT1 category, the number 3 Corvette driven by Ron Fellows, brings it in, turns it over to Johnny O'Connell to see his first action of the day. So remember that 2-hour time limit. They needed to get Johnny O in, and they're waiting for the fuel, and then they'll go to work. They're lightning fast on these tire changes, so they should be really quick here. And then I'll be interested to see how the strategy plays out with them and the sister car, the 4 car, which will certainly need a stop for the end of the run. Very quick there with the guns. They stay on the same corner, have an assist, get each wheel done individually, and on his way.
Oh, Johnny just launched it out of there. No question of stalling. He wanted to make sure he got back on a track. That's a good point.
Johnny, make it count.
You see,
coming, Audi coming.
You see why those guys won the pit stop competition today. I mean, just flawless. Dan Biggs really honed that team into a really good pit stop. The tire change and so forth.
And we heard Calvin talk about getting Ron out before he hit that 2-hour mark. The same story for the 31 of Georg Bergmeister in that White Lightning car. He's been in the car since the beginning. They've got to get him in very soon.
Yeah, you go over to 2 hours, you put yourself in jeopardy. They got to get those drivers out and the other drivers in.
What Jorg has been able to do there, remember I talked earlier about the fact that after the stops, about 12 seconds, Bergmeister had over Dumas, and that it would go to 11, go to 13. Jorg has now stretched it to 16 and a half seconds at this stage. And believe me, at that 15 seconds, 16 seconds, you factor in pit stops, that could be huge.
Greg, he has been extending the lead, and they've got to get him in. They're setting up for a pit stop, but they have cut it very close. You think what would happen if they got an untimely full-force caution right now to get caught behind the pace car and take 2.5 or 3 minutes to get back around, they might be over the 2-hour limit, so they have pushed it as far as they possibly could, maybe even a little bit further than they probably should have. Calvin?
Well, pit stops continue. The lead car in the LMP1 category, and the overall leader, Marco Werner, brings it in. So they've made the call. Once Dyson had pitted, that really opened it up for the Audi. The Audi felt that they were going to be about 2 or 3 laps shy on the Dyson here today, so they may have had to wait a little bit longer to be able to pit Marco Verna and get him to the finish. There'll be no tyre changes. Actually, one of the mechanics went to the front of the car there. I'm not sure if that'll be a penalty. He went to clean the grille whilst the fueling was going in, so we'll have to see if that's a problem there. Meanwhile, the number 4 Corvette makes a pit stop and no tyres on that car, so that was really a great strategy car there. The 20-second call. That was it. They saw the mechanic. He went to the grill to try and clean it out, and that is a no-no. You are not allowed to service the car while the fueling is going on, so this is going to be critical.
That's a good call, Calvin. I saw it just like you did. I'm glad you explained it. The mechanic should not have wiped that windscreen clean. No work can be done but the fueling until the fueling's done. And for a windscreen that's only 1 inch tall, to have a little bit of obscurity, that was just a huge problem.
I was going to say, at this level of the game, after being in it for a couple of years, how do you make that mistake?
I mean, that's a huge penalty play. You can look over that. I mean, it's a bit of a distraction for the driver, but not 2 seconds as we see the Maserati lock its brakes up right in Andy Wallace's face.
Oh, and
he almost didn't make the corner.
Well, it probably helped Andy because he went so wide. Andy was able to get by underneath and not lose much time as a result, but hard to throw a moment there, perhaps, watching that car. Smoke bellowing out of the front of it. It crossed up heading into that turn.
That explains the smoke. Right on board now, so it's got flat spot tires. I don't see a lot of vibration.
And here comes Bergmeister and the number 2 of Biela coming in for their final stop. And obviously the number 31 will involve a driver's change. That car leading in GT2. And Biela seemed to be a little bit upset there, and it's a speed limit deal. Brian?
Georg Bergmeister will be getting out. He has to. We talked about that, and they cut it close, guys. Only 2 minutes left. If he had gone past one more time, they would have been overtime and disallowed from the event. Looking at the right rear of this car, Johannes van Overbeek, after he had finished his stint in the 45, had come down and told Dale White, look, I saw a little oil coming out of the right side, and it looked like the exhaust pipes was dipped a little bit, but no problems here on the 31. Should be a routine stop, Calvin.
Well, the 2 cars waiting for fuel only, Frank Biela, and you know this team is not going to make the same mistake that the 1 car made, so Frank Biela has jumped out in front of JJ later. We'll have to see how he stacks up with Andy Wallace. He beats Wallace out. Wallace goes down the front straightaway. Biela takes the lead.
Well, what a stop. Well, and going a lap or 2 longer allowed them to put in a little less fuel, perhaps. That's it.
Now the question is, can he get that? There goes Andy Wallace right there. The 3rd car in the picture is Andy Wallace. Can he get the Audi's tires up to pressure and temperature quickly enough before he's pounced on by Andy Wallace?
Boy, interesting strategy here playing out. And for Bergmeister, I think the bigger concern was, had there been a yellow and they closed the pits, they were toast. I mean, it was
the good news right now for Frank Biela is that Road America's got long straightaways where that tire's not being up to pressure, up to temperature, doesn't hurt anything because you're not having to corner. You can see right there, Andy Wallace has made up a lot of time in just 2 corners.
You can see him. I mean, Wallace can see him.
And that,
no question of that.
And he's got the advantage in that he's got the brakes and everything up to temperature fully.
Into turn 8 and now into the carousel. Andy Wallace now in chase mode after having led for some time. Just got his head down. Nothing to do except go for it. Here are your 4 class leaders closing in on the finish. Tonight on Speed, it's one of the legendary events, the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. Steep elevation makes for steep competition. Racers from 4 continents take on 12.5 miles of concrete and dirt, blind curves, no guardrails, and a 6,000-foot drop to a 14,000-foot summit. Give new meaning to racing on the edge. Pikes Peak Hill Climb tonight at 6, only on Speed. There's our leader now, Frank Biela, the number 2 champion ADT Audi, and got himself a little bit of room right now. One of the reasons is just a great stop that they really were able to execute very well, and 2, a huge faux pas for the number 1 team. And, you know, this is the team that at the start of the season, everything went right for, and lately, Dorsey, whether their fault or not, everything's going wrong.
Yeah, they've had a bad way to go here lately. That was kind of a rookie mistake. I mean, it's a mistake you don't make. I mean, it's a known rule. It's always been the same rule. You don't touch the car until the fueling's done. So for that crew member to come out there and do that windscreen catch 20 seconds late in the race, that's his monumental.
Now for Werner, he has closed that margin up, only 5 seconds behind Wallace, so he is driving exceptionally hard right now. Here is the number 4 car. Now the controls handled by Olivier Beretta, and a great call in the pits, as Calvin mentioned.
Yeah, they didn't take on the tires that the other car did. As a result, they took on the Sister 3 car. Now, that being said, Olivier Beretta is going to be on a really, really long stint on these tires. Watch his lap time, see if he starts falling off to the 3.
Well, you mentioned it, and right now Beretta's last lap at 2:04, O'Connell's at 2:02. So, Calvin, looking interesting already.
It is certainly strategy playing the key part in the Corvette squad here today. And Ollie Gavin, Olivier's going to have about an hour and 20 minutes on those tyres when you see the checkered flag this afternoon. How much will he struggle in the last part of this race by not changing?
Well, the Michelin people have said to us that they should be fine with the tyres. We're confident that we're confident in them and confident in Olivier to bring the car home. So I don't think there's going to be too much of a problem. We might see a little bit of a performance drop, but Olivier's the man for it. He knows his Michelin tyres inside out. So yeah, I'm confident in him.
You know the word from inside the camp. Will Doug let you boys race for it? If Johnny is able to get on the tail of Beretta, will they let him go for it?
I'm sure it's going to be close. You know, it's always close between the 3 and the 4 car. I think every single session this weekend it's only been separated by about a 1/10 of a second. Around a 4-mile track, it's close, very, very close. So I think it is going to be very nip and tuck all the way to the checkered flag. But we're in front at the moment, so I'm betting on Olivier.
He's betting on his teammate, guys, as you'd expect.
Well, Olivier had the pole here last year, and as he said, he's very quick around this track. Gavin put him on pole this year, so the team very quick, but we're keeping a very close eye on those times. And again, as they come by, O'Connell has to run a lap that's a second and a half almost quicker.
2 seconds better last lap, second and a half better this lap. So a big discrepancy in the speed of the 2 cars right now.
And so we watch the bet as they continue to hammer around. This battle is going to get very snug, we would suspect, in a few laps with he's going in GT2 at this stage. That is now the 31 of Bergmeister, has handed off after that long, long stint now and turned it over to Patrick Long. And Patrick Long finds himself third in class now. Fogarty is second, and Dumas is out in front in the number 23 Hyatt entry. But I'll tell you, the guy who put on a great show in qualifying and 2 an amazing show in the race.
Greg, it looks like Patrick picked up where Jörg left off. He just turned a lap that was almost a second faster than everybody else. But Jörg, what's your favorite racetrack in North America? I mean, you guys are on a little bit of a different pit strategy right now. I know the 2 guys in front of you have to stop. Kind of a roll of the dice?
Yeah, so I just to do that on the green as well. We had to come in on the green. I still had some fuel in the car, but was just 45 minutes left, and Patrick needs to do at least 45 minutes to get points, so that's why we had to come in.
And the new ECU on the car, is it just a completely different car to drive?
No, it helps quite a bit on shifting, and the traction control is a little better. It helps overall a bit.
Well, he's got a big smile on his face, and he should. He's been flying all weekend long from the time they unloaded.
And he looks disgustingly fresh from 2 hours in the car. So.
Normally an ECU, electronic control unit, you just plug it in. Not the case when we're talking about this Porsche. You don't just plug this one in. You have to rewire the entire car. Every single wire has got to come out. The comment made by this team was, if this car ever runs again, it'll be a miracle.
Bits and pieces lying everywhere on the rebuild there in the installation. Meanwhile, in our LMP2 category, the number 10 Kumho Tire Slime Miracle Motorsports Garage is leading and doing so comfortably right now. Has, of course, had some help with a couple of problems with some of the team cars. Jeff Putnam is running exceptionally well. This will be very sweet for him. Remember, he went over the 2-hour window at Mid-Ohio with a huge lead.
Right.
And now it looks like if everything goes according to plan for the rest of the deal, he'll be running very, very well here as well. And second in the class is the EFC Systems Van der Steur Racing Polo of Gunnar and Eric Van der Steur and Ben Devlin right now. And Putnam looks very, very strong.
Greg, certainly the Kumho Tires have done a great job here this year for the Miracle Motorsports team, and talking to the staff this weekend. They're not stopping here in LMP2. We mentioned at Portland they have had molds built for LMP1 size tires, and they expect to test those tires with the Courage team over in France a little bit later in the season. And they've also had some inquiries from of the teams over in Europe who want to come over here towards the end of the season. GT1 Celine, entered by Graham Nash Racing. So they're not stopping in one category. They love this series. They think it really gives them great visibility. They want to push the envelope a little bit.
And of course, that number 10 car right there doesn't need a whole lot of work, and that could be an LMP1. So some very good strategy developments, if you will, playing. Here's that number 19 we were talking about, the UC Systems Vanderstreet Racing Lola. It's one of the older Lola chassis. It's been around a little bit, but today it's given it a very good run. Ben Devlin now behind the wheel out of Norwich, England, and got squeezed a little bit there. And in talking to Devlin, he said he's only raced at this track twice, but he's never lost here. He wants to keep that streak alive. It's going to be tough against that number 10. Courage, but Devlin doing a nice job with his team. Well played for a second.
I hate when they say that. Never lost.
Never lost.
Not good. He was wise not to mix it up back there with that Viper. I can tell you that. Not going into the kink like that. So I back out that.
Well, one, it was the kink. Two, it was a little P2 Lola and a big GT1 Viper. That's a bad mix. 4 classes running. Here are the class leaders. Race has proved to be very interesting. You are on board now with Marco Werner, who sits third, and that is Andy Wallace right in front. And Wallace's lap times have suddenly gone up quite a bit, and Werner, running very quickly, has been able to run him down. Both of these two now about 12 seconds adrift of overall leader Frank Bueller. And Werner and Wallace have actually been cut thrusting a little bit here. So you have to wonder, is Wallace in trouble? Are the tires gone? What's the situation?
It could be tire. I tell you one thing I've observed for sure is that Andy Wallace is not getting the job done in the brake zone. That's a lighter car, should be better under braking. But watch right now, as the Audi in this brake zone takes away about a car like this when it gets it. So that could be also a tire situation if his tires are starting to get a little greasy.
There's a climb up the hill now. Take a look at this.
Again, in a brake zone, that candidate. Bill takes a look around the outside. Now we're trying to tuck up the inside. One thing the car is doing, Wallace's car does accelerate out the corners. Get on the brakes right there. Here we go, brake zone. See, Wallace's car does get off the corner well, but it's just not getting very good in the brakes.
Well, I think in that replay they were both they were passing a flat car, so I think he kind of trapped to the inside, just decided to stay there. It was different. He couldn't. It looked like he had room to swing out and go back around.
Watch him here in 5. The car looks stable on the brake. It's not moving around.
Well, you say it looks stable there, but I know over the course of the weekend, Dorsey, that Andy Wallace and Chris Dyson have really been fighting the car under braking. He said it's really just been wagging its tail. It's not just at turn-in. As soon as you get on the brakes, it's just sort of like wiggling around in the back end. He said, I've not been unable to really attack the corners like I'd like to. So right now, he's just trying to hang in there. The Audi certainly looks like he might have his pace today.
Yeah, Calvin, it looks like he's braking early and light for the corners, which you can do. You brake a little earlier than normal, but you don't brake with the same intensity that you would normally brake. And you don't lose much speed that way. It looks like that's what he's doing, trying to control the car.
All of this interesting because that pass he made for second at the one point, which remember he was way to the inside at 5 and just out-deeped him going in. So maybe just a moment of bravado and knew that's what he needed to do.
Of course, the other end of that equation, we always say fast in, slow out.
Yeah.
You see the Audi is faster getting into the corner, but gets to the throttle. There's a little oversteer right there. Andy Wallace gets to full throttle a little bit sooner because he's a little bit slower at the midpoint of the corner. That extends the length of each straightaway between each corner.
Watch some of the telemetry here. Speed build as they climb this hill.
See him taking bends of a draft off that GT2 car. You get a draft off those.
Watch the chase graphic here. We'll see just how this is playing out at this stage. At the line, the interval was 0.6 of a second.
Light and square the corner off, get to the throttle earlier and extend that straightaway even further.
And well, Werner that time lost a little over 1/10 of a second. in that first segment, but it looked like he made most of that back up on the braking as Andy didn't get away from him. Excellent fun.
Good passing opportunity down here. Quite close to the field. He's trying to work his way in that position. And up a gear in the carousel there. He's just tiptoeing through here. Trying to hit it through. Yeah, that's a bad place to catch it for the Audi. That's the kink. You don't want to catch him here because it's really hard to not run box kink.
Just that. There you can see it lost almost over 0.3 of a second, and it was just that breathe heading into the kink. Momentum's that key.
He had to back off the throttle so he didn't catch that Porsche at the kink. That opened up 5-6 car lengths.
Interval now up over a second behind.
Looks like the Audi is really twitchy from the midpoint of the corner out. Seen him a couple times now. Every time he gets to the apex, the back end wants to jump out and you see a little bit of overcorrection or oversteer.
And that third part of the interval he made up a little bit, but the margin now about a second. The bigger story is the margin from first to second is almost 13 seconds. Bila is hooked up. Everybody, and we want to remind you that there is some more great racing certainly to unfold here in the season, and Mosport will be the next place that we will be running to from one of North America's great tracks to another one, Mosport, and just outside of Toronto, Canada, Sunday, September 4th, live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. In ways very similar, extremely quick, and just a great track as well. So if you like high speed, lots of terrain, elevation change, road courses. This race, the next week, a couple of weeks out, they're the ones for you. You're going to want to be watching those for sure. Going to be absolutely fascinating. As a matter of fact, we finished the season, Road Atlanta and Laguna, 2 more of the same. So what a great way to end a great championship. And you can see the time left right now in the event, just a little bit under 1.5 hours. Frank Bila continues to lead. In fact, now has built that margin, Dorsey, and has expanded to 15 seconds, and it's simply because he's just running faster than anybody else out there right now.
Yeah, Bila's just taking off. And GT1 here now with the story, the 3 car, which of course with the Cloth tires, its sister car, the 4 leads, but not by much now. That was 12 seconds before. It's only 3 seconds now. The race is on.
Yeah, Johnny O'Connell is closing it up. I mean, this gap is huge that he has evaporated at this stage. And, you know, they say catch it the other, and team orders play a role. You know, you can't rough the guy up, but
8 seconds in just this short period of time. I mean, that shows you he's got a much quicker hot rod right now. 2 seconds a lap, roughly, is what he's running underneath the cars.
We got to give some kudos to the number 5 Menards Yokohama entry from Pacific Coast Motorsports. Their lap times right now are less than 2 seconds off of the vets and traffic and as well. And if this holds, it'll be the 3rd straight Porsche, or Corvette 1-2-3 sweep, but it'll be the 3rd straight podium for this team. And they have really come alive, as you said. They figured out a little bit in endurance racing.
They got a restrictor brake. They got a bigger restrictor, which helps them. Also, the C6s, the 2 factory vets, have 25 kilos of weight added to them as well. So
that certainly is showing its form right now here. And boy, what a great story. 2nd straight podium and another top 3 sweep. Just a great job. And Ryan Till, a lot of that comes from the team just evolving and developing, I would think.
Tyler Tadevik is the team director at Pacific Coast. Greg, and Tyler, I know that you're very proud of your drivers. The whole team has worked very hard. Greg was just talking about how much teamwork it takes, but a lot of people saying good things about you guys. And one of them is Doug Feehan. I know he came up to you at Portland and kind of congratulated you guys. What did he say?
Basically, I'll remember for a long time, he said, you know, Tyler, you got to remember, this game is 25% speed, 25% skill, and 50% luck. So, fortunately in Portland, we got the 50% luck, and the other 25%, my guys took care of it. Great job, my drivers. You know, the Ironclad Menard Corvette's having a pretty good day today. Yokohama tires are working great for us, and certainly a compliment to have someone the stature of Mr. Feehan say good things about us. We appreciate that a lot.
And when you have a guy like Doug Feehan compliment you, Greg, you know it's quite a compliment. These guys working hard to get that second podium in a row.
Well, he is a master, no question, and those kind of words will really motivate you as well. And it's to say, he's talking about 50% luck, but a lot of times that luck is made by the preparation and the understanding of the game and all that.
If you know Doug Feehan, he's not one that gives out compliments very often.
Right.
He will be the first to tell you when you're not doing something right. He's a perfectionist and has done a great job for these General Motors teams for so many years now.
Yeah, he's been very happy to share knowledge with this young team and say, you know, anytime you need some ideas, if you have a question, we're happy to answer it. Come and talk to us. And Tyler, very, very bright young man, has said, jump on that opportunity, and it has paid off big here in these last couple of races thus far. A couple of very good young drivers, Alex Figge and Ryan Bell. A lot of speed there, and they too have had to adjust from the sprint format in the Atlantic Championship to driving a much different type of car and a much different type of race, and their evolution is coming along too. Here's your top 5 currently in GT1. Wednesday on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series returns to the short track at Bristol Motor Speedway. Find out who has what it takes to conquer the world's fastest half mile. Don't miss the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series live from Bristol Wednesday night at 9, exclusively on Speed. Double yellows fly once again here at Road America, third full course caution of the event. And the reason is you see bits and pieces of bodywork on the track, and there you see Ryan DL has climbed out of the number 5 Menards Yokohama Corvette after we were just talking about singing his praises and the like. Just a cut tire, and there certainly has been enough on and off on this track that could do some damage. And unfortunately, the tire has come apart and taken some bodywork with it, right? Watch this, Doris.
Again, this is a 4-mile racetrack, and this is down in turn 5, or headed down toward turn 5. The carcass of the tire is beating the bodywork to death.
Okay. We're done.
There you see it. The carcass has taken out the rear suspension, the entire roof, the top, everything.
Oh, is that frustrating? And after looking so strong. Oh, the 63, the Asemco Celine problems. Report is maybe a lost wheel. Is that down by pit out?
Looks like a left front's gone or something. It's down on one of the wheels. As Terry Borscheller was in the car, and a wheel coming off.
That's right down by pit out. So
look at
the only way we can recover from this is if you fix it, or
look at the top of your frame, all the way at the top.
There it is.
There goes the tire and wheel. Right side something. Hey, we can go get that. It's right by us. Want it?
I'll let it cool down first, maybe.
Let's go back in the pits. Nice of it.
So the car pulled over.
You're parked. You are parked. Do not drive it.
The car pulled over, and they were able to get it tucked back in behind the wall over there by pit out.
Drive it back if you want me to. No. Out. Jeff, do not drive the car. Do not drive the car. Acknowledge that. Stop it, dude.
They don't want to damage the car any more than it's already damaged here. Do not drive the car back.
Well, two things, I think. They don't want to damage the car by driving it forward and trying to get it around into the pits. And if he were to engage the gear or somehow start backing up in pit lane, it's an automatic disqualification, because you can't do that per the rules. We saw that at Le Mans with the Miracle car, and they're still in a point situation where they can get something out of it. They wouldn't if they're excluded, so that's why they're telling them, just park it.
You know, you have to go 4 miles around, Greg, and it's going to be rubbing on the rotor. You're going to destroy a rotor. You're going to destroy the under tray. It's just not worth it.
So the caution flies here, and one event caused it, and one event happened while we're in it, and one of the benefactors maybe is this car, the number 35 Maserati, Fabrizio Di Simone behind the wheel. Here are your 4 leaders in the 4 different divisions. Welcome back to Road America. 15 minutes remaining in this 7th round of the America Le Mans Series for 2005, and as we are under caution and some pit stops have started to evolve, a lot developing, certainly in the GT ranks. We've been watching that battle between the 2 Corvettes. that margin is gone, and that's now on the upside for Beretta. Maybe cool off those well-used tires a little bit, see what happens there. In GT2, all kinds of things are in flux. The 23 has gone into the pits under this caution. We think the 45 of Fogarty is going to be leading, but they may need to stop, and that would mean the 31, now in the hands of Patrick Long, might be the winner of the sweepstakes.
It's a big shake-up at GT2. All those guys playing their strategy. We have to see how that unfolds. You know what they were waiting for, was to see where the overall leader was in relation to them, to see if anybody was going to get a free 9/10 of a lap or whatever, but that not being the case, this man will lead.
That's John Fogarty. And also keep in mind that big margin that Biela had built up, almost 16 seconds over Wallace and Werner, will go away. And the report is that Wallace got caught just consistently in some traffic, allowed Werner to catch him and allowed Biela to get away. So once the wave around's there, we've got the top 3 cars. It should be a fascinating battle there. The 2 Corvettes battling. And in GT2, we'll see how this all shakes out. But it's going to be a very, very interesting run to the end here.
Let's see if Andy Wallace can get his speed back. You know, see if he can get up. There he is. Of course, we've got the 2 Corvettes going to be running together. There's the 45 that's going to take the lead at GT2. That's going to be well of a battle there.
There is the 31 of Long. So that's 1-2 in class, with the 23 of Alex Jobe having pitted. And if that 45 of Fogarty does indeed pit, and we think it may need to.
And the Corvettes are going to have a good go, but you can bet that.
And right in front of them, you saw that number 35, the Maserati, with the problems for the number 5 Corvette. The Maserati may be well placed for a podium here, and that, as we hop on board, that would be great to see as well.
Well, hindsight is always easy, Greg, but I think the 23 team really should have looked at the situation with the 5 car off the track. If there was any potential to go full course yellow, they were going to get hurt in comparison to the 31 car in terms of track position. So once it goes yellow, they close the pits, you can't come in. So game is over at that point, but I think they were certainly well within their window. They only needed about 10 seconds of fuel. They could have brought the 23 car in, and he would have held the lead, or certainly been in front of the 31 car, depending on the 45 strategy. So we'll have to wait and see on the 45 if they need to splash or not, but certainly a lot to go for here in GT2.
It would have been a good gamble to take, you know. I mean, with that the 5 Corvette with all the debris and so forth off. That's of course before the 63 even did what it did, but it would have been a gamble worth taking.
Remember, Feehan said 25% skill, 50% luck. Maybe the luck part. I checked in with the guys at 45 Flying Lizard, and they said, look, if we come in, we're going to finish 3rd. We're going to lose that position on the track. We're going to stay out. We're going to stretch it as long as we can. It's going to be close. If it gets to the reserve, we can run a lap and a half on reserve. We won't let them run out on the racetrack, but right now we're going to gamble. They're going to go for that 50% luck.
And you know, Brian, with 1 lap to go here, with all these battles about to ensue, a caution is not out of the realm for sure.
That's true, and then that fuel economy goes up, and they could be looking really good. They're not in the points battle either at this stage for the drivers, certainly, and so why not? I mean, you want to go for a win, play that game, play that card, and see how it unfolds. So we do have the indication we should be going green next time by, and we'll be doing so with about 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes. We got a parking lot right here coming out of turn 1, and Calvin talking about pitting for the number 23 car. You almost wonder if they were watching a monitor, if they'd seen something where they saw that bodywork starting to come off in big chunks on the track. That may have been the cue, you think?
Well, these guys are watching our if I was watching the monitor and I saw that thing chunking like that, I would have probably made the call to bring the car in, because you're pretty sure it's not going to make it back from turn 5 when half the bodywork's already gone. So I think that call would have been reasonable.
Now keep in mind the number 23 pitted, but under the caution came out. It lost the lead, it lost track position, but it is on the same lap as the other cars in front. And so we know Romain Dumas is a very quick driver. We'll have to see what happens, and if the 45 runs into problems with Patrick Long, well, who knows? I mean, there's just a couple of cars and a couple of seconds separating them.
It's crazy. No matter how long the race is, it always comes down to this. 2 hours and 35 minutes gone of a 2 hour and 45-minute race. Now, everything that's happened up to now means nothing. This is the race. It's going to be a 15-minute or less sprint, and everybody that's in these cars right now knows that. They're tightening their belts up. They're getting their adrenaline pumped up, because this is going to be for all the marbles.
Game time.
Game time. Put the game face on, because it's going to be a sprint now.
Nice, beautiful shot from high up here over Road America. There's all that busy stuff to the right is the go-kart track, which is really a phenomenal facility in and of itself. A number of different configurations that can be used. And you're out here for various race weekends. If you're watching over there in the Turn 8 area, you end up watching a lot of the go-kart activity. Just a phenomenal track here. So, and watching them work their way through the carousel at this stage right now. Expecting the green to be coming out here shortly. And they're going to give you our Mobile One move of the race, and it was a beaut, Dorsey.
It was indeed. Take a look at the second place car there, the 20 car. Andy Wallace trying to make a move, goes the long way around, gets set up to do turn 1. It's Chris Dyson actually that did that move and makes that pass before the big corner comes up.
Threading the needle is what that was called, that little split of those cars. Yeah.
Just great timing by Chris to get that throttle down. Now, pace car lights are out. We're down in Canada corner, not too far to go. These guys now know it's going to be aggression time. That's what I'm saying. Another caution, I wouldn't rule that out.
And 2-lap cars between Vila and Wallace, the overall leader, so he's got that little bit of a buffer. Wallace, no such protection as we're on board with Werner in the 3rd overall spot, and that is Wallace directly ahead. Then you see those 2-lap cars, then Vila out front. And boy, what an amazing turn of events this would be for the number 2 champion ADT Audi team to come back after problems at the early part of the year and end up winning a 3rd straight race. Here we go through 14. Pace car is moved off, and watch for the green flag. Vila leads him up the hill. Green's out, and Wallace goes. Werner goes. Nice job by those lap cars. They just moved right out of the way and let these guys go. The 2 Corvettes, that GT1 battle now just that close, and looked like Beretta ran a little wide coming out. Traffic right now, it's just a scrum at this stage.
Wow, and they're going down the back straight toward the real braking zone in turn 5. Watch down here. Everybody's for position now. All these guys trying to get by one another.
And you can see there's the number 45 trying to give itself a little room, get by one of the Panos, squeezes in. Boy, that was very close. And here comes Long with the Panos, trying to get back by the number 45, forces the 45 out wide. Long is through, new leader, GT2.
That's what I was talking about. It had to happen. You know it was going to happen down there. The Corvette boys are right behind that. Now watch again. It's going to happen in turn 8 the same exact way. When they go through this right-hand kink, it's positioning, and then it's going to be the brake zone.
Oh, Beretta gets through some traffic. That's going to help him out. Now O'Connell has got to get by. It's the 45, second in GT2. And O'Connell comes down, but traffic in front is going to give him that margin right back again. And now into the carousel. Corvette. Oh, the Maserati a little wide, let them through.
The Corvette guys can't do anything. They're going to catch all these GT2 Porsches right in the carousel. There's not room to go side by side. We saw what happened to James Weaver when he got brave on an outside pass there. They're going to catch him all going to the kink.
There's
a little block there. That was smart. Patrick Long not wanting that Corvette up the inside of it. It would have broke his momentum, and he can't afford that. He's in a big battle in GT2.
He is trying now to get by that Panos, and the Corvette's trying to go with him, and Long just parking them, and rightfully so. He is trying to do everything he can to survive here, and he gets down to Canada first, trying to get by those cars in front, and the Vette's is sort of stymied right now.
Patrick Long doing exactly what he needs to do. He cannot let that Vette split him away from the Panos he's racing with. The Vette's are going to have to wait till right up here on this straightaway to get the job done.
And now Long ducks underneath. That's the J3 car, and he gets by, so he gets that little buffer. Now in the long straight, the number 4 Vette, now the number 3 Vette, move to the right and start to accelerate by. That's Long just off to your left, and he has given himself a few car buffer back to the 45. Some very sharp driving by Patrick Long. Frustrating maybe for the Vette guys, but the right thing to do.
And the Panos in the middle, that's a lap car too. I mean, it wasn't for a position for him. He just happened to be in the middle of a big war right now.
So now the Vettes, they're coming up on some other traffic as well at this stage, and it's just going to be a while for this to sort out. Vettes now have that long run down into turn 5.
Watch O'Connell, he's got him set up. He's in the slipstream with a lot of speed on. Now can he outbrake him down here at the bottom? It's going to be tight.
Better tires, you would think. Therefore, maybe a little better grip down into the braking zone, but not this time.
Just let him go for some reason. Just not ready yet. almost got it.
Tires are totally gone. Copy.
Well, O'Connell certainly wants to make the pass, but he's got to do it clean. He can't go in there and start banging around and stuff. So he's just, I think, really working on trying to pick his place.
Beretta almost got into that corner too deep. Yeah. He was just about to slide off the track there. And Johnny will have seen that. He's going to push him into these corners now, like down here in Canada. Right there, that's all over now. Beretta just went a little bit too deep and didn't get that corner done quite well. I think Johnny O'Connell's got the run going that he will need to make a move down by turn 1. Beretta going defensive to the inside. It's not going to let him go that way. Now, one thing that Beretta's got, the advantage he has is clean air. He's out there in front with nobody in front of him, and poor Johnny O'Connell's eating all the dirty air off that vet, which will make the car a little tight, not want to turn quite as well.
One thing I'm noticing is it looks like Beretta turning in a little sooner than O'Connell. If the tires go away and you start to push, is that a sign of that sometimes? That you got to turn in early just to get to the apex?
Well, if it won't turn in, that's the only way you can do. Turn in shallow and early so you don't make the car turn as much, but then you got to slow up the middle of the corner.
Oh,
here comes
he goes.
Johnny O.
Johnny taking a look, showing the nose. No, not this time.
Well, you gotta think it's just a matter of time, though. But you said it before, catching a guy and passing him. Beretta does not want to give up this position,
especially a teammate.
Johnny's just got to push him real hard in the brake zones because it looks like Beretta's car doesn't want to turn down there in those corners.
Yeah, but the problem is we've got 1 minute and 38 seconds left in this, which means
one more time around.
One more time around. So if he's going to do this, he has got to jump on the opportunity here. Bila, so you know, Bila leads by 1.5 seconds overall over Wallace. And here comes, that is Bila now, and here comes Andy Wallace. And boy, that was 1:06 last time by. It's opened up more than that, certainly. White flag, last lap. Bila, it's 2.5 seconds now. So Bila just, he threw in a 155 flat to Wallace's 155.9. Bila digging deep when he needed it.
It's the GT1 battle. It's a great one. I don't know if Johnny Oaken's got enough or not. I think he does. But boy, I'm telling you, Olivier Beretta not giving him any place to go.
Johnny's going to do it. He may have to force his way by.
Now he's got 1 4-mile section of road to do it on, and that's going to be the last time around. Boy, everything's right. I mean, he's up there in the draft.
Got to stand on the gas, buddy.
He's there, Johnny. Tucked in. He's tucked in. Doesn't try it into 1.
Here, maybe down the hill. No. Beretta's just a little slower right in the middle of the corner.
There's Beretta. There's that shallowing up a little bit. Johnny squared it up a little bit better. Got a good run off the turn.
Well, you'd think in the draft like that Johnny's car gets people to suck up, but maybe not. It's just not getting much of help.
Meanwhile, just to update you folks, in the GT2 battle, Patrick Long, the 31 White Lightning car, 9/10 of a second clear of Romain Dumas, who has found it and has closed up to second and is that close in the Hyatt entry.
And I'm watching Beretta do something I used to do all the time, too. He's running in the middle of the road and be confusing as to what his intention is for a corner.
That's the battle in GT2 on this final lap. Not as close as the vet battle. Dumas driving incredibly hard now. His last lap a full second quicker than Long's. But we go back to this battle. It is so close. Down at 8. Oh, Johnny a little wide there. That hurts. That hurt. Meanwhile, here we go. Frank Bila, the #2 champion ADT Audi, going for win #3 in a row. And Werner taking a run at Wallace. Bila up the hill. And he has done it. Bila and Pirro win once again.
Fantastic job, Frankie. Fantastic.
Excellent. 3 in a row, and Bila did it with pure speed in his final stint. After that last stop, he was throwing down some awesome laps.
Look how much that turn 8 mess up hurt Johnny O'Connell there.
Here comes Jeff Bucknam, who's going to win P2, the Miracle Motorsports Slime Kumo entry. And boy, sweet moment for them after all the problems they have had this season in some of the races after starting off strong. And his first win since Lime Rock for them. And here we go. O'Connell taking the run. Got out of the turn quicker, but too little too late perhaps. up the hill. Olivier Beretta, what a gut check drive for Olivier. And that gives him another win with his teammate Ollie Gavin, 3 of the last 4. And here's the battle. Look at this, Dorsey. It couldn't be closer. Dumas has driven brilliantly. 31 coming up the hill. Dumas there. 3 of the 4 classes unbelievably close. And Patrick Long just going to hang on. The Alex Job momentum has been nipped.
You don't think he's happy, do you?
That is their first win, folks, since the opening round at Sebring. Unbelievable. And for Job, they had 4 in a row, and now this team has come back. And the commitment for that team with the new ECU, all the time spent has paid off. Here are the 4 class winners. We'll be back. Speed Channel's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, the oil that's changing oil. By Porsche, Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Michelin, a better way forward. Welcome back, everybody, and the Audi R8 has notched an amazing 46th win in the history of its competition, and it is Biela and Pirro bringing it home over Dyson and Wallace. There is the rest of the top 5. Let's get right down to Calvin Fish.
Hey, Frankie, what a day. Great performance, and you really had to get the hammer down there after the final restart.
Yeah, I was afraid because in the first 2 restarts, once in Manuela and once me, I think we lost a little bit. And Graham told me, my engineer told me, keep this shit thing warm, the tires, and I tried. And it was good enough. I'm very, very happy. The car was perfect. The guys did a brilliant job in the pits, and this old man
Frankie
very,
was
very
so
good.
strong.
No, very happy.
I was really, this time I was so happy. This time I was so happy.
3 in a row for the Audi number 2, Greg.
Boy, and you can see the emotion there, and with good reason, aside from what they've achieved. Look what they've done points-wise, up by 15 now over Andy Wallace. That tandem is, and that was, by the way, I said the 46th win for the R8 in ALMS competition, 60th worldwide when you include European racing and Le Mans, and they obliterated the previous margin of victory record by, a ton. We'll talk about that. Here is GT2, the top 5 right there. Couldn't get any closer in that one either, and Brian Till, another great battle.
It was a great battle indeed. And the celebration, I haven't seen one like that for a long time. You're not pumped, are you, Patrick?
Oh, man. I thought Lime Rock Pole was exciting. This was so down to the wire. I mean, Dale White just did the best strategy I could have imagined. We were worried. He's a gambler. He's from Vegas like this team, but it paid off. It's great to beat the job, guys.
Well, I know there was a lot of pit strategy that went with it, but after that last restart, it looked like somebody had lit a fire under Romain. How'd you keep him behind you?
It was mayhem. I had tons of lap cars to get through, and I was treating them like they were for position. There was contact left and right because those guys were in their own battle, and they didn't know what lap I was on or what position. So it was no holds bar out there, and I knew Romain was coming, so I was taking every chance.
Every chance you saw it, guys. It was awesome.
It was indeed Westward Ho Casino. The gamble paid off, and they are now within 2 of Dumas and Bernard. So very close there as well. And what a great drive by the number 45 Porsche to bring it back up. In P2, it was the Miracle Motorsports entry. Calvin, what a great day.
It was. They had to play catch-up in the championship, and they made it happen today. Chris McMurray, Jeff Bucknam, and Chris, talk about the race today. How did it go once the 37 dropped out?
Well, it was a crazy race. I mean, we got punted right at the beginning of the race, and it's been odd this year because we've led at the beginning of the races all year long, and we end up not bringing home the bacon, and today we end up with a slow start, and we end up winning, so go figure.
Congratulations. Great to see you guys back on top. Well done. Thanks. Greg?
Absolutely well done indeed. We'll give you the point scenario now, and you can see they are on top. Clint Field, that big problem, has dropped him 6 points adrift, and 3 more races to go. Now in GT1, Gavin Beretta, Fellows O'Connell, what a day.
Greg, GT1 is exciting as the other classes, and Ollie Gavin, Olivier Beretta. Olivier, it just didn't look like you had the car there at the end. How'd you manage to keep Johnny behind you those last couple of laps?
Well, no, the car was good. I didn't want to take any risk, to overdrive and crash or spin. I was just controlling my speed. I knew that if I was closing the door an half, it was not possible for him to pass. So I just take care and waiting my last lap to bring back the car. I didn't want to do any mistake. The car was great, the Michelin tires, the engine, everyone at Corvette Racing did a wonderful job.
Another flawless day for the guys at Corvette, Greg.
Boy, amazing. And there are the points, and it is O'Connell and Fellows up by only 3. It's that close. Unbelievable. For Brian Till, for Calvin Fish and Darcy Schrader, I'm Greg Kramer. What a day here at Road America. Mosport is next. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and take care.